Welcome to the Modern Streamers League Week 8 Night 2 edition, or as I've been calling this, the AmuLIT edition. We have here, every single person here has streamed at one point or another Amulet Titan, so I'm sure there's going to be lots and lots of Amulet Titan talk going back and going forth. So for those who are unaware, the Modern Streamers League is a collection of 20 streamers playing for two different charities, which I'll get to in a little bit. We are sponsored by Card Hoarder and Card Kingdom, and we are going to be smashing with some Amulet Titans today, hopefully. So I have some special guests here. Nicholas Bruno, better known as PuntThenWhine. Francisco Pawlusz. Did I pronounce it correctly? Yes.
Pawlusz, if it's close enough.
Okay. Better known as the first letter in his first name and most of his last name. And Cyrus corman-gill, best known for Legacy Storm. So how are you guys all doing tonight?
Awesome.
Good.
Good.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm flying out for Grand Prix Atlanta, and I guess 12 hours now, so I'm excited for that, and excited to also watch this tonight.
Great.
Oh yeah.
So right now, Team Fire is up 14-11 in Season 2. So what did I do as a founder, but also as a Team Ice player? I said, you know what? I'm going to get 4 Team Ice members, and we are going to cheer so hard from the broadcaster booth that there's no way we can lose this week. We're already up right now this week, 3-2, thanks to Monday. So here we are.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Spoken by PuntThenWhine himself.
Classic unbiased commentary.
Classic unbiased commentary. If any of you are cheering for Team Fire, you're going to be traded away for a ham sandwich or something maybe a little bit more valuable. Maybe a foil Ancient Stirrings. Who knows? Who knows what we will get out of this? So each team is playing for a particular charity. Team Fire is playing for A21, which is working to end slavery worldwide. You can check them out. You can donate directly to them down below, or you can donate to the league, or you can sub to the league, and that money will go to the winning team's charity. Team Ice is playing for the Cancer Research Institute, whose goal is to end slavery all over the world. So
I don't think that's their goal.
Sorry.
Got those mixed up.
And
Long
cancer,
day, don't worry about it.
Cancer all over the world. So, long day, long day. I streamed this morning, and I worked in the middle of the day. Haven't even had dinner yet. Here I am in the Modern Streamers League, trying to replace Sean the Voice Seacrease, which I know is a failing task. So I'm really excited to have this show for you. We're going to have lots of Amulet Titan talks, but first, bad news. Unfortunately, due to scheduling issues and computer issues, Cyrus corman-gill and Yamakiller Gal's match is not going to be aired. Good news, though, is Cyrus will tell you everything that happened in that match.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Yamakiller is overseas, so he is playing on kind of an older laptop that's not able to record. And for whatever reason, I had a complete computer meltdown the last few weeks. For those that watch my stream, you know I have not been able to stream for a few weeks now because of my computer, and it got to the point where I could not open any applications, and Modo would not work, and I definitely could not record and play at the same time. So I just couldn't use my computer. So I borrowed someone's computer and played my match, and with the solution being that I would just come on here and talk about it. So unfortunately, not able to bring that to you. Yeah.
Not a problem. Things happen. We want to be accommodating. We want to be fun. Most importantly, this league is we're all trying to have a good time while helping out those charities. I don't know why you guys keep flickering away. We got some flicker wisps that have entered the production studios.
Charming princes.
Yeah.
It's because we're all charming princes.
Sounds like we're all amulet princes. Yeah. So glad to have you guys. I could talk for a very, very long time about how glad I am to have you, but I want to get started right away and jump into Cyrus giving detail over what happened in his match. And because you have all these people right now from Team Ice representing you in the booth, you better have won, right? So we will get right to the forecast of Cyrus, letting us know what went down.
All right, so for this match, I played Storm, and Yamakiller was on Hardened Scales. And for those that know Yamakiller and watch him on this league, you know he is the Hardened Scales master. So he's a Grand Prix finalist, has a bunch of Moto results with it, just really a master of the deck. And I'm also known for playing Storm, although not necessarily modern, but it's similar enough to the Legacy and Vintage versions in terms of some of the shortcuts you take. So also, for those that know this matchup, they know it's extremely favored for Storm. I think this is one of Hardened Scales' just absolute worst matchups. Storm basically just always wins on turn 3.5, turn 4, if uninterrupted. So I was feeling pretty good going into this match, despite me knowing that Yamakiller was very good. So how game 1 went down is that he basically did the only thing you can do to win the match, which is he drew 2 Hardened Scales. So he went turn 1 Hardened Scales, turn 2 Hardened Scales, Mox Opal, whatever, play a Walking Ballista, kill your Goblin Electromancer. I had a turn 3 win, so and then he was able to kill me pretty quickly after that because he had 2 Hardened Scales and the right mixture of creatures. So I lost game 1. Game 2, I was able to just cast a turn 3 rebuild into a turn 4 win, which is pretty standard, and won the match. And then game 3, he goes again, turn 1 Hardened Scales, turn 2 Hardened Scales, and Walking Ballista kills my cost reducer that I played out. So kind of the only thing that he can really do to win the match most of the time, besides drawing sideboard cards. And then I actually kind of missed lethal with the Hardened Scales deck, where he had cast a creature that would kill me with the Walking Ballista. He cast an Arcbound Ravager, and I was like, okay, resolves rather than bounce the Walking Ballista that was in play. And then he was able to deal lethal to me through a rebuild. So, Hardened Scales is nut draw, wins on turn 3 with double scales. So he was able to cast double Hardened Scales both games, and unfortunately for me, win the match. And then I made a mistake too, which happened. So yeah, but if anyone could beat me with that deck, I was pretty sure it was going to be Yamakiller, and he did.
So I already updated Team Fire 15,
Brutal.
Team Ice 11. Not the start to the week we want. We're currently tied on the week 3-3. Ouch. So
Got some work to do.
Yep, we got some work to do. We have 4 more matches of actual gameplay coming up. Should be really, really exciting. We're going to kick things off with PuntThenWhine against Capolo, which is Amulet Titan against Urza. So that should be a really, really fun match. But while we still have Cyrus, I want to ask you, what is your favorite mistake you have ever made in Magic? Your best punt, if you will.
Oh man, my best punt or the one I remember the most?
Whichever.
I'm gonna go with one that was kind of the funniest. So I'm playing Legacy Storm, and this is back when I was still pretty new to the deck, and I resolve ad nauseum, and I'm like, oh cool, I drew 20 cards, I have the tutor, I have all the mana, I go ritual, I don't have any blue mana or cantrips, and I look at my hand, I'm like, oh wait, I don't have Lion's Eye Diamond, I can't get Hellbent. And this is playing a win-in or something at some Channel Fireball event. And I'm like, so I have 1 Gataxian Probe, and I cast Gataxian Probe, and then I draw Lion's Eye Diamond, and then I cast it, and then I win the game. So I was thinking I had no way to get, I couldn't win the game, and then of course it was on top of my deck, right where I skillfully put it. So I think that's probably that was one of my punts where it was like, oh man, I made such a dumb punt. I should have just easily won this game. I didn't need to stop, but the deck was powerful enough it bailed me out anyways. So
you see the punt if you don't get punished.
I don't.
Well,
I don't know.
I never got
I vote
punished,
yes.
obviously,
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Okay, fair enough.
That's definitely one that I remember.
I do a lot of things that I consider punts and then just win because whatever deck I'm playing is better at the game than I am.
Usually Amulet Titan.
Usually Amulet, yeah. The Amulet deck is better at the game than I am, so, it bails me out.
Fair.
That's like Arilac says he likes playing decks that make winning easy.
Smart man, that Ari.
There is some truth to that. If you're playing decks that you have to work for every single win, there's a reason why I have not registered blue-white control to a long, 12 round day or something like that. That would be brutal. Amulet Titan is similarly brutal, but at least Amulet Titan, sometimes you just win, and there's like half an hour left in the round, and even though you're burning all those calories like a chess player, like 6,000 calorie days, doing all these big brain plays, you sometimes still get a half an hour between each round to refuel, go to the bathroom, eat a cheeseburger. Like there's time between rounds. But if you're playing blue-white control, you can be like, I hope I grab some Cheez-Its, and I hope I have some Cheez-Its in my backpack.
Yeah, I couldn't play blue-white. I don't know why people do that. In Vegas, I went to time like 2 rounds in a row, and at the end of the second one, I was like, my brain just could not process information anymore. Fortunately, in the immediate next round, I got paired against Hogak, and I lost in like 10 minutes, so that worked out.
That's the story of a lot of people, that tournament.
Yeah, exactly. That worked out, and I got to rest a little bit, but yeah.
But thankfully, Hogak is banned, and we're not going to be seeing any of that tonight.
No.
It's great.
We are Hogak free, we are Faithless Looting free, but we do have some ancient stirrings up ahead in the Modern Streamers League. Cyrus, one last question before you go out, because you do have to leave, or you are going to Atlanta real soon, tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'm leaving. I have to get to bed fairly soon. I have to finish packing and then get to bed because I'm leaving at like 5 in the morning tomorrow.
Okay. And last question for you is about Amulet Titan. What is your favorite flex card? Because Amulet Titan is a 5-color deck. It's very flexible. You can jam kind of a pet card into the deck, if you will. What is your favorite flex card?
Oh, geez. Yeah, I don't oftentimes play that spicy of cards in any deck I play. Now, this one kind of caught me unaware. Definitely not Zakama. That card is not good. And I don't know. I think I kind of like playing Urukthar. I don't think it's that good, but as someone who has played a lot of decks that are really bad against Urukthar, I kind of just like Uruktaring people.
I like Urukthar because I have a foil Urukthar, and that is one reason why I like registering it. But yeah, it's almost a liability in some spots, particularly.
Yeah, they just remand it, then you lose.
Mm-hmm.
Or Arboreal Grazer. I really like that new card, Arboreal Grazer, that a lot of people are not playing, but I don't know. That card just does everything. It blocks Flamewake Phoenixes, blocks Arclight Phoenixes, blocks Goblin Guides, ramps you, Mantis Rider. That card is just broken. It attacks for 2 sometimes. So I've liked Arboreal Grazer a lot.
Sometimes it attacks for 4 if you're able to give it double strike. I actually am running one of the big, great, beautiful sloths in my deck right now because I like the flexibility of having I actually kind of like it more post board, but I'm keeping it my main board as a ramp spell that I keep in decks and matchups where I'm siding out Scout. So that way, like against Jund. Jund is Ren and 6 absolutely destroys Scout, but Sloth is like, hey, I'm still gonna ramp you, and I still eat a Liliana of the Veil Edict to protect your Titan.
Yeah, I also like how if you have an Amulet out, you can jump from 5 to 6 with the Summoner's Pact, which comes up with a decent amount. Or if you're playing the Karn version, it can ramp you to Karn turn sooner, which I think is good. But Coalition Relic's also obviously great, and they compete for slots, so they're just kind of different cards.
Yes. I think that the Sloth works better with Karn to some degree because it helps you cast out a turn 3 Karn a little bit quicker. But as someone who's animated Coalition Relic with Karn, I can't say it's the only card that works well with Karn. I've animated Coalition Relic so many times, swung with it, and surprise killed a couple Liliana the Veils or opponents, and they've been like, oh, I guess that does do that, huh?
Yep. Classic.
That's pretty sweet.
Literally happened on stream yesterday. My E-Tron opponent very happily goes and minuses their Karn. I have nothing on board but a Karn and a Coalition Relic, and they minus the Karn to go get Ensnare and Bridge, and they pass the turn. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? This is not going to end up well for you.
Nope. You may have had an artifact that was a 3-mana artifact that did nothing because of your opponent's Karn, but it still was a 3 converted mana cost artifact.
It swings. It swings just the same.
Yep.
It's great. Karn's great. Play Karn. It's awesome.
Yes. I'm very, very happy with Karn the Great Creators. I'm sure I'll be chatting about further along this stream. So I want to thank you, Cyrus. Thank you very much for hanging out with us and for giving us a recap of your match. Unfortunately, you lost, putting the burden on PuntThenWhine here to win next match to put Team Ice back where it belongs, ahead of Team Fire. But we'll forgive you because you are an amazing player, and we're glad to have you, not just in the booth, but on Team Ice.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Well, have a great night all, and I hope the rest of the night goes very well for Team Ice.
Yep.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're going to have a quick break, and then we're going to get back to the first video match, which will be PuntThenWhine, Nicholas Bruno against Capolo. We'll see you in a minute.
Hey, this is PuntThenWhine. So I'm doing the forecast for my matchup with Capolo. Capolo was on in Urza's Paradox deck, which is a combo deck trying to do stuff with Urza and Cyan Paradoxical Outcome. And I'm doing a scout version of Amulet that goes for a more mid-rangey plan with things like Thragtusk and Primal Command. So ultimately, I felt like I was favored in this matchup. The game, or I feel like my deck coming into this is favored in this matchup. Game one, there's just not a lot of interaction on either side, and I think I hope my Goldfish is better, and then in this matchup, and then going into games 2 and 3, there's not a lot of relevant interaction coming in from the sideboard. Disdainful Stroke from Capolo is definitely a big one, and the other counter spell, I can't remember what it's called. And then I'm getting some useful cards like Beast Within Nature's Claim and Engineered Explosives and Dismember. So ultimately, hopefully, my interaction will overpower them, and my Goldfish will be faster. But who knows? Their deck is basically an unstoppable freight train, and if I don't do something quickly, they will eventually just combo off and kill me. There's no way to stop them forever. So yeah, hopefully this goes well. Go Ice.
Thank you very much for that awesome forecast of Doom. I always like hearing from the particular player's perspective how they approach this matchup. And the card you were forgetting about, Punt, is Metallic Rebuke, I believe. I think that was a sideboard card, his other counter spell that he can bring in.
Modern staple, Metallic Rebuke, of course.
Modern staple.
A classic.
So Capolo wins the die roll here. Francisco, what do you think of the hand?
I think the hand is solid.
I do like this Primal Command. I think it's going to be very useful here, being able to put non-creature permanents away while also fetching a Titan.
Yeah, 100%. I think the card is very good. And now the only issue that I have with this hand is that knowing what Capolo is on, it might be a little bit slow. Disregard everything. This card is amazing. Punt is a genius, and yeah. Now the Amulet took this hand from like a 20 to 150.
Yep.
If he finds another Amulet here, Capolo might just be
There's
dead.
another one. Yep.
All right. Yeah. So now Capolo basically needs to win this next turn. Otherwise, he's going to be in a lot of trouble, because a Primal Command is going to basically deny Andrea a draw step, while at the same time fetching the prime time that a Punt will need to win the game. So this is how things start. This is how things start. This is the broken start that Andrea needed. This is turn number 3 right now.
Yes, Urza so we're gonna see is pretty ridiculous, but we're about to see, is this prime time on 3?
So he has six mana. So the Azusa is going to net 9 mana. But if Punt decides to go for that line, that means that he's not going to be hasting the Titan. So I don't think he has a line to a Titan that actually gets Capolo dead this turn. He definitely can buy a bunch of time thanks to the Primal Command, and that is one of the reasons. Like, because Punt is going to have so much mana here, I think he's going to end the turn with mana that he did not actually use. So I would have liked him to go for the Stirrings as a way to begin the turn, because I think that if he actually goes for Stirrings and does find a third copy of Amulet, he might actually be able to actually attack for lethal. If not attack for lethal, at least present insane amounts of power in play.
Sure.
While disrupting Aldrea at the same time, obviously, right? Because he's going to be he's basically denying Andrea off a draw step right here.
Mm-hmm. And we can easily afford to take a hit from a 4/4 construct.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. So basically, Andrea needs to go off this coming turn because I mean he even knows about the prime time, and Andrea is not playing a version of Urza like the ones that we're used to seeing. The ones that we are used to seeing usually have stuff like Ensnare and Bridge and things like that that can basically delay the attack or stuff like that, and he does not have access to those. What I think that Punt is going to do here, which I think it's effectively going to close the game just the same, is, as I was saying, he doesn't have enough mana to haste this Primeval Titan. However, what he can do is he can transmute for a Pact of Negation, and with the remaining mana also play out this Coalition Relic. So basically, even if Andrea does draw the paradoxical outcome that he needs, that's simply not going to be enough because it's just going to get countered with this Pact of Negation. And thanks to this Coalition Relic, Punt will have enough mana on his upkeep in order to continue, in order to not die to his Pact trigger.
Correct.
And again, deck lists are public, so he knows that he doesn't need to worry about any Damping Sphere shenanigans or anything like that, which is one of the ways that he gets punished for going for this line.
Even then, he could pack the negation of the Damping Sphere if that was an issue.
Yeah, but Urza is going to make insane amounts of mana right now. So what I'm saying is, like, if Capolo does have the paradoxical outcome and the Damping Sphere, then he leads on the outcome, which Punt is basically effectively forced to counter, and then he plays the Damping Sphere, and that's he can steal a win that way. Wow, he reveals the outcome. He activates the Urza and reveals the outcome.
So I was actually wondering why Capolo did not try activate the Mishra's Bauble last turn to kind of buy himself out of that lost draw step from the Primal command, but it was because he wanted that extra blue mana for this exact situation here.
Exactly.
But wow, paradoxical outcome right there.
I mean, Capolo with the tight plays, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as we see, Punt was ready with that Pact of Negation, and he's going to, thanks to the Coalition Relic, which is awesome, as you can see.
He's going to misclick.
Exactly. You can see why I like this card so much. I think the Coalition Relic does a lot of work in a deck like this, in trying to help you, basically trying to help you make sure that it just gives you so many. It's not only a ramp card, but it's also a mana fixer, which is a very big deal. And he found explosives.
Yeah, he had an Amulet on the top. Granted, he did shuffle from the prime time, but he still had technically off of this viewing, so he could have actually grabbed an Amulet. It was a slim chance, but he could have had an Amulet off of that Stirrings if he'd done that before that prime time.
Exactly. But yeah, it's the minor sequencing things. Again, Punt. I just noticed that Punt is playing some bad mid-range deck, which I think it's a hilarious way to describe Amulet. This was a meme at some point. I don't know who tweeted that Amulet was something like a bad mid-range deck or something like that, and then I think it won an event a week after or something. He won an SCG Open a couple of weeks afterwards. It was hilarious.
Okay, all right. For a second, I thought he made a mistake there. He did not. I actually, to be fair, I would not have Ancient Stirrings first there. I think putting the Prime in play, grabbing the Pact, there's so few ways he could lose from that spot. I think that was, I still think that was the correct line. I get what you're saying about the Ancient Stirrings, and he could have grabbed Lethal, but that means he wouldn't have been able to put the Prime time in play.
Yeah, I honestly did not do the math on the maybe he had exactly enough to cast a prime time, and if that's the case, you don't want to risk it. You just want to go for a safe Primeval Titan and kind of move on with your life. One minor thing that we see over here, which is that we can see that Punt is always holding bounce lands in hand. This is something very key to playing Amulet. One of the very big things is that the interaction between bounce lands and Amulet, it's kind of busted. So in order to maximize that interaction, you always want to be thinking, and you want to be very aware about which lands you're going to have in play by the time the Amulet triggers resolve, as well as which hands you're going to end up with in hand by the time the Amulet resolves, or the Titan resolves or something. So we can see that punt is here, not punting, and actually bouncing the correct lands and sequencing his lands in the correct way in order to make sure that he is dealing with the Urza right here, which is again the only possible way that he can lose.
Yep.
We see Walking Ballista being used as a tool in order to that little
clutch.
bluff.
Always
that really
clutch.
little bluff attack with the Azusa last turn was actually part of a greater master plan, as we can see right now. And now I have, with a single card in hand, I have no idea what Andrea can draw to get out of this.
Even if it's an Urza, it's not enough here.
He just doesn't have enough mana. Because he would need either a land or...
Especially since we can attack with a 16 power prime if we choose, play the Stronghold, use red mana off the Coalition Relic and white off the Sanctuary, swing in, then get the double strike land, untap it thanks to the Amulet. So yeah, that was... I don't... Plus, especially with Walking Ballista in there, whenever people suggest putting Walking Ballista in the sideboard, this is an example here. There's always a situation where you can steal a win, even when Walking Ballista is not actually that good in this. Like, I could see siding Walking Ballista out here. I don't think it's great in this matchup. I don't even think it's that good in this matchup. But it still was able to allow Punt use Walking Ballista to leverage to a spot where he could not lose. And that's really the inevitability engine that you're trying to get with Amulet Titan.
Exactly. A lot of the times, and I always say this on my stream, it's just like a lot of the times, you're playing Amulet, and what a lot of people go in chat and they say, well, this is a pretty straightforward, do this. Like, this is clearly the line. I'm like, wait a second. I mean, yes, that's the easy line. Now we have to figure out what the consequences of that line are, Maybe that's the line, but your opponent has a path to exile. Maybe that's the line, but if your opponent has, like, I don't know, if they have exactly Liliana into whatever, and then you're far behind,
Liliana,
you want to
push. Yep, that's
exactly.
Push the plant, Edict the Titan.
Exactly. So you always want to be thinking, if possible, 2 or 3 turns ahead, and try to figure out what the worst case scenario is, and then play around that worst case scenario. Sometimes, you can't. and if you can't, and if you're super far behind and you're trying to catch up, and, sometimes you need to make risky plays. But that's another aspect of the deck. You need to know when you need to go for those risky plays. Yes. I still remember. There was when I played against Ryan here on the Streamers League, and I knew for a fact that he only had 2 dismembers in his list. So I made a play. He had already used one of them, and I made a play that basically said, okay, so if he has exactly the second dismember in hand right in this turn, he's gonna get me. But if he doesn't, then I'm just gonna win, basically.
Yes.
And so it's just one of those things where you need to manage what the risk and the reward is, and then play accordingly. And this hand is a beaut.
I love this hand. Real quick, the chat said we could 20 instead of 16 last game. Absolutely could. If you play the Slayer Stronghold, use the white off the Sanctuary, the red off of the Coalition Relic, play a bounce land, bounce the Slayers, replay the Slayers as a 3rd land drop, and then play a Coalition Relic from hand to get the extra red, and you get the extra white from the green-white bounce land you played. You could have actually 20'd. Not that it was necessary. Capolo did concede, but just in the interest of actually doing the math there, you could swing with a 10-powered Titan and then give it double strike.
Was it 10 or was it 16? I don't remember what the actual board said.
You could have. There's only one Amulet in play, so you had to use Azusa to play Slayers, bounce Slayers, replay Slayers, and you had to use a Coalition Relic from hand and one in play to get the 2 red mana. But
okay, sweet.
It was possible. It was possible. So chat said yes, it was. Famed.
I was going on a tangent and talking about something else, and I totally blanked on it. But yeah, if you say it's possible, I'm going to trust you.
It was possible. Someone, YouTube future, check the tape, and if I am wrong, please
leave a comment.
Please scold me. Leave a comment.
Saint Doom sucks. This is why. In the meantime, we totally forgot about what was going on this match right now. So what happened was like Punt had an incredible hand, and Fpawlusz was even better. So he went turn one explosives for 1 in order to set up for cracking on turn 2, which I thought was pretty sweet. But not only that, but he also had both Mox Opal and Everflowing Chalice, which means that he not only stopped Punt's development like very, very handily, but he also developed his mana in a pretty drastic fashion. Like he's up to potentially 4 mana next turn.
That Stirring's actually just revealed bottoming 2 Titans. Shouldn't be relevant because we have a Titan in hand, but still bottoming 2 Titans is always something I like keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I think when we saw the lists, Andrea was also only running a couple of Distasteful Strokes, so that would be the only way. Oh, the second Explosives is kind of brutal here. So I would say Distasteful Stroke would be the only way that that he could, that the lack of Titans might be relevant. But we already have 2 Tolaria Wests in hand, so it doesn't really matter anyway. Like we have plenty of Titans.
Plenty of Titans. Unfortunately, no way to speed them out quickly. We're scheduled for a turn 6 non-hasted prime time right now, and I don't think that's going to be good enough.
Colossal Dreadmaw is a modern staple. Don't let them tell you otherwise.
Yep.
And we had Sai here, which can be a little bit problematic. He doesn't have blue mana right now. I think he tapped a little bit wrong here. I don't think it's going to matter anyway, I guess. But I think that if you are Punt, you just have to dismember this Sai. Otherwise, it's going to get completely out of control. And if you ever saw the interaction between Sai and Urza, it's a pretty busted one. Basically, every Sai nets 1 mana out of what they play because it gets a free stop turn that can tap for mana. It's pretty insane.
Nets a mana, but it also gives you a 1/1 Thopter in play, which is kind of brutal too.
Probably not going to be particularly relevant in this matchup. This matchup is not really about like nickel and diming, because when Punt gets there with a Titan, it's gonna win basically. Yeah. But it's definitely interesting what we got going on here.
There's a couple options here. So the classic thing to do, the kind of, what should I do? It's, always use Tolaria West to get a Pact, right? Like a Summoner's Pact. And then at that point you could say, I can turn 5 play, get a Zeusa, but that's actually not going to speed up your clock end. You're still looking at a turn 6 Titan there, no matter what. So PuntThenWhine wisely grabs a more useful card in this situation, which is an Engineered Explosives, which actually, let me see here. If he draws a Gemstone Mine, can plot that down for X equals 4.
Yes, but I don't think that we're going to get to that point. I think that Punt is more interested in cracking it for 0. Cracking it for 0 would get rid of both the Thopter and the Construct token, as well as Mox Opal and the Everflowing Chalice. So at this point, I imagine that Punt is going to be more interested in trying to... Urza revealing this Damnful Stroke. That's some bad beats right there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that Punt is just going to crack it on 0. Also, he's very interested in like playing another land this turn, and the reason for that is if you see like all of his lands enter the battlefield tapped. However, he has 2 bounce land and a Vesuva. Basically, the Vesuva is a bounce land proxy in this situation, and you're gonna see that Punt is either probably gonna bounce his Gemstone Mine to reset it, but also, the Slayer Struggle would work just the same. The idea is you want to play the bounce land right now because you can, next turn, you can have guaranteed Titan mana with any of the untapped lands, the ETB untapped lands, like Gemstone Mine, for example. Gemstone Mine is such a good land in this deck. People all the time try to play 3. They try to like justify playing 3. Like, no, I'm playing a split with like 3 Gemstone Mine and 1 Waterloo Grove, and it's just like
that hurts so many spots. Not only does that make your burn matchup worse, your aggro matchup worse, but the fact that Gemstone Mine taps for red post board or white post board based on what splash you're running is way more useful than people give it credit for. I use Gemstone Mine, and I've seen you do it plenty of times, as an extra out with Sunhome or Slayer's Stronghold instead of having a bounce land to still get that white and red mana, particularly under something like a Damping Sphere, where your Waterloo, your Grove is just gonna be like, why give green and blue mana, but I cost you a life.
Exactly. No, and the painless mana base is such a big feature of the Amulet deck. I think it's greatly underappreciated. And if you want to play Amulet, just play 4 Gemstone Mines. Like, just do it. Like, why do you want to make your life just harder for no reason?
Right,
just play the superior land. Personally, I think it's by far the best land in the deck, and I could never ever imagine playing less than 4 willingly, at least. If somebody would force me to do it, I guess I would do it. But
it could be a budget constraint or something like that. Like, I could see that, but it's still just not optimal. Also, there's a weird line you can make sometimes with Gemstone Mine. And I've had Gemstone Mine in play with 5 mana, and I had a Gemstone Mine on 1, and I had either a Crucible or a Ramanop in play, and I hadn't made my land drop yet. I used the Gemstone Mine, it dies effectively, and then I replay it from my graveyard as my land for a turn, and I use that same land twice to get me to that get over that 5 mana hump to get to that 6 mana spot for prime time. So even even Gemstone Mine's downside can still be utilized for your advantage sometimes.
Exactly. Gemstone Mine just does everything. I really don't understand why people want to cut it, but some people do, and some people are having success while doing that. But I still think it's wrong, and there's no way anybody can ever convince me otherwise. In the meantime, we have Punt going for some style points here. You can see that he's running Crumbling Vestige. Crumbling Vestige is a land that he's been playing forever in his Amulet Bloom list, and the idea behind that is that that means that the Titan will create 1 mana when it enters the battlefield, which can be relevant in scenarios like this. For example, he had access to the one-off Nature's Claim and was able to basically deny Capolo of 1 mana.
And the 4 life was irrelevant at that particular moment also.
Yep, and now this is big game right here. That Biz Within is just huge. It really is. So he's going to I think he's going to get a Pact of Negation here. And we have the Biz Within for the Urza. I feel like he's just super far ahead at this point. This time around, like in the previous game, we saw Capolo activate the Urza a single time and crack the absolute best possible card, which was the Paradoxical Outcome. It didn't matter because Punt had it covered already. But here we see him whiffing time and time again. He activated Urza like 3 times, and it yielded an Island, a Mox Opal, and I can't remember what the other card was.
Disdainful Stroke.
Disdainful Stroke,
Which is not a good thing to draw.
Those were not good hits. And we see Punt here smartly doing casting the Biz Within here on the main phase because got him. Because in the upkeep, he can. In the upkeep, he can activate Urza, and the Urza's ability is good for the entire turn. Now, going on to this, whether to pack this or not, this is actually a good question. I think, personally, I would not, because next turn, you can transmute for Engineered Explosives on 4, and you can use that to get rid of the Urza. However, we see that Punt is putting a very high premium on getting rid of this Urza right now.
Right, the line was
now
stop your opponent from having 1 turn of rolling the dice, which is if you let the Metallic Rebuke resolve, or stop your opponent's, like, be weak to your opponent for 1 turn rolling the dice, or be weak to your opponent's top deck, like if you right now were weak to the opponent's top deck.
Yeah, and one thing is that we clearly saw that Punt was not thinking about Metallic Rebuke while doing that, because if he had used the Biz Within before transmuting, he would have basically blanked the card, and then the transmute effect is not affected at all by the Metallic Rebuke. So correct. he could have cleanly destroyed the Urza that way. Here we see that he has double strike mana, but the double strike, it's actually not lethal still, which makes things a little bit awkward. So I wonder what line he's going to choose to take here.
Play another Titan. And then swing.
Yeah.
Yep.
He has a lot of He has a lot of choices here. Again, he has another copy of Engineered Explosives that he has access to. I don't think he has a second Pact of Negation. No, he doesn't. So it's either Explosives or another like Summoner's Pact or something like that. He chooses to go for the Explosives, which makes sense because it's like the only piece of interaction he has access to right now.
Yep. And putting it in play when your opponent probably doesn't have a counterspell is pretty useful. So this is just killing Opal and the Beast token, but with Capolo down to 1 card in hand, it seems pretty relevant to just to get a free 2-for-1 is pretty good here.
Yeah, so what he's trying to do is basically he's denying Capolo of mana. Right now, the only possible way that Capolo can win this game now, it's gonna be if he top decks Urza and he has exactly Paradoxical Outcome mana and he goes off immediately. And so Punt is very interesting. Even if it were just the Mox Opal, I think Punt would have done the exact same thing because it denies Capolo of the possible outs. And we see that smartly enough, he's setting up lethal for next turn. And that's why he got the Cavern of Souls naming Giant.
Yep.
So next turn, he's going to be able to play an uncounterable Giant. And he's going to be able to haste it by getting a bounce land and a Slayer. Playing the Stronghold as the land for a turn. And then he is going to haste and attack with both Titans for way more than lethal.
Yes.
So, well played. Well played. And
awesome. I think I have something.
Can you just do the little update thingy that you do over there? There we go. Oh yeah.
Boom.
Oh yeah.
12.
Right. 12.
It's a fun match.
That was an awesome match. I really liked how there was a spot when I think I would have jammed like a second Titan, and then afterwards I saw what you were doing with that Engineered Explosives. You were absolutely correct. Jamming a second Titan was not the right play. Also, that would have opened you up to a Disdainful Stroke in your opponent's hand, which is one of the things that maybe could have helped Capolo claw his way back into that game. Really good match.
My understanding of the matchup was that the more just random cards they had in play, the more likely they were to just out of nowhere go off and kill me. And I thought as long as I could keep them lower on resources, that, you know, it could even come to be the case where like they cast a Paradoxical Outcome and draw 3 or 4 cards and then just don't do anything else from there. So like that, I just was always trying to keep them low on resources. Like when I used the Crumbling Vestige to Nature's Claim the Astrolabe, and that ended up like denying them an Urza activation the next turn. So yeah,
really heads up lines.
Yeah, very, very nicely played. Except for that transmute.
Yeah,
Beast
definitely, definitely did those two in the wrong order. But hey, if I didn't do one punt in the match, you know, I gotta maintain the brand.
It's true.
You know?
It's good branding. That's certainly good branding. You have the perfect excuse.
Is did you whine afterwards?
You know, my mic was on mute, so I guess we'll never know.
The best answer.
So for anyone unfamiliar, Nicholas Bruno's handle is PuntThenWhine, wine WHINE, not wine like drink a lot of wine. So, which
I mean, it's both sometimes, you know.
So Amulet Titan while streaming is difficult. Amulet Titan while streaming while drinking is a whole nother level. For anyone willing to delve into that madness, I have on my YouTube channel, I called it Drunkulate Mothman. We were talking about the Mothman. For those unfamiliar, it's something that plagued, I think it's New Jersey, 1966 and 1967. Lots of people seeing this mysterious Mothman. Supposedly he collapsed, this demon collapsed the bridge and killed a bunch of people. So I just learned about that, and while drinking and playing Amulet Titan, and there were punts, and there was wine. So I was stealing a little bit of your handle there. I
mean, it's funny how many times I'll just start a match and I'll just get people who message me that say your username is my life. Yeah. So it's a universal experience. You know, it's something we all get to be a part of, the PuntThenWhine.
So a question
I
for you.
imagine more people have the PuntThenWhine without the H
Yes.
than the one with the H.
Or both. They do pair very well together. So so Punt, what is your favorite or most rememberable punt of all time in Magic the Gathering?
Probably. I think one of my most memorable punts, at least for me, was in a paper tournament in a win-in for top 8. I played a Primeval Titan. I searched up Boros Garrison in a Slayer Stronghold with an Amulet in play, and then I just said, move to combat. And then I'm like, oh, I guess beginning of combat, give it haste. And then the person called a judge and they said, well, okay, when you say move to combat, that's indicating passing priority in combat. And so I just searched up the Boros Garrison and the Slayer Stronghold and didn't give my Titan haste for no reason.
Did you win the match?
Not at all. No,
okay.
Not even a little bit. Yeah. No. Yeah. There's actually I have a long and proud history of punting win-ins for top 8s, and that's kind of a little bit of the inspiration for the name, and then the other inspiration was I played Moto a little bit before that with another username, and it was just based on my experience on Moto and how people act on Moto. So
very true. You get a lot of classy folks on the MTGO chat, just kind of like Reddit comments. They kind of go hand in hand there sometimes. Yeah, Cyrus is actually talking about pre-stream. He had an opponent when he was playing Amulet tell him he had the nuts when he attacked with a turn 8 primetime. Cast and attacked with a primetime on turn 8.
I mean, are they wrong? Primeval Titan is just a nuts magic card. Anytime you're casting it, you have the nuts.
If you're spending 6 mana to do something in Modern, it better be good, right? Like, what can you name a 6 mana card that doesn't fundamentally win you the game that people actually play besides Walking Ballista for 3? Like that is the only other thing I can really think of that doesn't fundamentally win you the game. But sometimes it gets pretty darn close.
I miss Upheaval. Those were good times.
Does Tasigur count?
Those were good times.
Tasigur does not count. Tasigur costs 1 mana.
Then I don't know.
Good stuff.
So real quick, I want to mention my biggest Amulet Titan punt of all time. It was my first week learning the deck. I was playing against Elves, and I was so proud of myself that I figured out this line where because I had an Amulet in play, I could cast Azusa, and then I had Walking Ballista in hand, and I could make a 3/3 Walking Ballista. Nice little segue with a 3/3 Walking Ballista on the same turn. So I did this. I made this giant 3/3 Walking Ballista. I killed 2 Elves. I had it ready to kill another in case I needed to. And my MTGO opponent messaged me, cool, pass their turn. I pacted for Azusa, and I did not keep 4 mana in play. And despite the fact that I saw this really cool line, always remember your pack triggers, ladies and gentlemen in the chat. Always remember your pack triggers.
That is one of those things that it's, kind of like a ritual that we all go through. Mm-hmm. We all had at one point, it doesn't matter when you started playing Amulet, we all have one time that we have not paid for our packs. And that's it. And never again you don't play for a pack because you feel so stupid. The feeling is just daunting. And you never again have that happen to you.
I have a feeling
I did like a week ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like you're the only one, Francisco. Nicholas and it sounded like you were saying that I just did last month. Like I still I packed it and went, oh no, if they kill my Azusa, or if they kill my Scout. I actually did it. I was playing in a league against. I was playing against Cat Light. We both got paired against each other. We were both 1-0. I was like, great. We were chatting in the chat, and as soon as I passed turn, I was so busy. I was like, oh no, if she sees it, she was on. Is it Phoenix? I was like, if she kills my Scout, I am dead. But I had the I was set up for the next turn kill. I put her down to like 4 life or something ridiculous. It was stupid. I was really just kind of like playing dumb. But she didn't see it, and she conceded before the pact trigger. Like, she conceded before on her end step instead of on my upkeep. Otherwise, she would have seen, like, she would have been like, oh, I did it too late. Like, she should have, if she had just bolted, because I asked her after, she said, oh, no, I had the bolt. If she had just bolted the scout, I was just dead.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough.
It was like blue-white. We both had like 2 minutes left on our clock, and I just left myself 2 blue mana in play while they had a Field of Ruin. So, like, very, like, left myself dead on board, you know.
Sometimes they don't see the line. It's funny. That's why you never concede. Never concede. I mean, concede when you're dead, but sometimes, like, my favorite one was one time where I game 1, my opponent ad nauseam me, and they discarded all of their lands, and I was playing Amulet, so I had like 3 lands in my hand, and my opponent, like, they like overdid it with the Lightning Storm, so they discarded literally all of their lands, and I'm like, okay, I'll discard the land, and change the target to you, and I'm like, oh, you should have conceded to me. I'm like, no, dude, like, why would I? Right. This can happen. And the absolute best part is that they kill me game 2 easy, and then game 3 the same thing happened to them. They discarded every single land but 2, and I had 3 lands in hand. So,
opponent did not learn.
They did not learn.
Moral of the story from Amulet players: do math while you're playing Magic.
Yes.
It's hilarious. Like, Moto gives you some good times. I'm a big fan of Moto.
So this is a special AmuLIT edition of the Modern Streamers League. We already saw Nicholas Bruno, PuntThenWhine play and take down Capolo, putting Team Ice up on this week 4-3. I know we're down right now in the season 15-12, but we're up on the week 4-3. And we need to make that 0, which is weekly wins, into a 1 to get back up here. So I want to briefly mention our sponsors. We're sponsored by Card Hoarder and Card Kingdom. Anybody who watches my stream knows Card Hoarder is the only place I even look to purchase cards on MTGO, and it's a big reason why I sought them out to sponsor this league. They're great. They're super quick. Their prices are awesome. Their delivery for cards, if you buy with a credit card instead of with tickets, is within like 2-3 minutes. It's fast. Card Kingdom, also great. I bought my entire Amulet deck off of Card Kingdom. They have some awesome foil pricing too, and their shipping is fantastic. They'll tell you it's like 2-3 days. It's really 1 to 2 days, and I live on the opposite coast. So Card Hoarder and Card Kingdom, absolutely fantastic. Real quick shout out again, A21. Trying to get rid of slavery everywhere, and the Cancer Research Institute trying to get rid of cancer.
I knew you were going to do that.
So definitely check them out. Check out our sponsors. Check out the charities. That's what this league is all about. You can donate directly below, either to the league or to the individual charities. If you do subscribe to the stream, that money will go to the winning team's charity. So next matchup we have is DaviusMinimus against the Tryhards. DaviusMinimus is also an Amulet Titan player, but he's not on Amulet Titan tonight. He's on 5-color Niv Mizzet. So we're going to have a small break, a forecast of doom, and then we'll be getting right back to match action. We'll see you in a minute. Welcome back to the Forecast of Doom. This is our third match of the night. We have Tryhards Hurley on Esper Delay, which is a cool brew, which I'll get to in a second. And we have DaviusMinimus on Saheeli Niv-Mizzet. So there's lots of really neat things going on here. The most important I want to mention is that this is a Teferi deck against a 5-color deck. And both decks run Teferi. Both decks have, as I'm sure PuntThenWhine will get to, very greedy mana bases. Both decks are really looking to kind of have a one turn really kind of over the top. The Esper Delay is looking to cast things like Delay, Spell Queller, and then pair those up with Lavinia or Teferi to stop your opponent from actually being able to cast that second level. And Saheeli Niv-Mizzet is looking to do one giant thing, ramp up to play one giant thing, which maybe draws you a bunch of cards, maybe is overwhelming you with a bunch of planeswalkers or 2-for-1s, like a Culligan's Command or a Lightning Helix. So this is just a battle between tempo on Esper Delay's side against big mana on Niv-Mizzet on Davius's side. So I'm pretty excited to see how this plays out. There's a lot. I could spend half an hour talking about all the individual cards that could see action in this particular matchup. That wouldn't be fun to watch. I could honestly spend half an hour probably dissecting each of these deck techs and trying to figure out what their mana curve is, what they're trying to do. There's a lot going on in both of these deck lists. Check them out on the Modern Streamers League website. We will post that in the chat what the actual deck lists are so you can look at it. But I don't want to waste any more time. I just want to get right to action. So let's check out and see how this goes.
All right. Here we go. This is going to be a spicy one for sure. I can't wait to see how this one plays out.
Both decks are just full of so many fun Magic cards that I just want to see every card that they cast. It's just going to be a cool time. It's just going to be cool cards. It's just going to be windmill slams thrown back and forth and planeswalkers and weird interactions between Lavina and Delay.
Dude, and we see Davius with the nuts, which is turn 1 Birds of Paradise.
Yeah, I mean,
did not draw.
I was kind of talking before the match when we were just privately talking about just how much I feel like every hand with Birds of Paradise in this deck is better than every hand without Birds of Paradise. It's just like being able to ramp and being able to fix your mana in this 5-color deck just seems like such a powerful turn 1 play.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed and agreed, both of them.
Yeah,
we're gonna have.
This is it's either Saheeli or I don't think you would waste the Oath of Kaya on the Judge's Familiar here. So yeah, I would imagine Saheeli uptick, and that also can draw you towards land drops, which are important here, especially as we're trying to build up to the Bring Delight and the is it Tolsimir?
Tolsimir. A Friend of Wolves, I think it's the name of the card. I actually have played that guy in Amulet in the past. He's surprisingly good, actually. He's not bad at all.
Yeah, I kind of had a joke that every card in Davius's deck is a Lightning Helix in some way or another. Like Oath of Kaya is a Lightning Helix, Tolsimir is a Lightning Helix, Bring to Light can grab Lightning Helix. You can Felidar Guardian your Oath of Kaya, so it's a Lightning Helix.
So he's basically playing...
And also, of course, Lightning Helix. You know?
He's playing Lightning Helix Tribal, clearly.
Yeah. It's just Lightning Helix Tribal. Interesting thing here, if Davius hits a land drop, he can actually Saheeli to copy the bird to get to 5 mana for the Tolsimir or the Bring to Light, both of which seem like extremely powerful turn 3 plays. So, the Saheeli doing double duty on getting to 5 mana quick in that it's providing the scry, we scry to the bottom, and it's potentially being an extra mana on a Birds of Paradise. And here we see the extra land, so I expect if we do if he does down. Well, wait, can't he just bring to light for Felidar Guardian and win the game here?
No, the problem with Bring to Light is that it gets countered by the familiar, so I would expect him to
Oh,
not
yeah.
do it.
Right, so then...
We see Davius looking at the list, trying to see, okay, how can he get me?
So probably then we see Tolsmir here, or do we just uptick Saheeli and, like, Abrupt Decay, Judge's
honestly,
Familiar?
I'm kind of interested in, like, Decay, the...
Freebooter?
Decay the Freebooter, and, like, actually copy to kill to use the Kaya, but it seems like Davius is not interested in. Apparently, he wants to like get more value out of the Saheeli, but using the Oath of Kaya to kill the familiar also protects the Saheeli.
Yeah, this is. I can also see that just keeping the loyalty up on the Saheeli, that leaves your 5 mana options open on future turns. So. Kind of puts himself in a position that no matter what this next turn looks like, he's almost definitely going to have a good play, whether that's the Oath of Kaya or the Tolsmir. Interesting.
Usually my plan against this kind of decks, like I know that my opponent's playing Delay, I know that my opponent's playing Spellquarter. Usually I put, when I approach this kind of matchups, my priority number one in my head is basically try to make sure that they don't have a board state. If your opponent does not have a board state, that means that you have time. And we see here how Tryhards was actually trying to buy time because they wanted to use Delay in order to counter Davius's play. So if Tryhards does not have a clock, then basically Davius has infinite time. He can do whatever he wants.
This matchup is extremely tempo based, and all of Tryhard's deck is extremely tempo based. Things like Spell Queller and Freebooter and other things. If you're ahead, all these cards are great. But as soon as you start to fall behind, just the high card quality of Davius's deck is going to start to take over, because at the end of the day, if Davius is drawing removal spells and using removal spells on the Kitesail Freebooters and the Spell Quellers, you're ultimately only going 1-for-1 with that card, while lots of Davius's cards we see in hand, like Kolaghan's Command, and we have the Tolsmir, there's lots of 2-for-1s in his deck. So if the game goes long, if you lose that tempo, if you can't maintain a board presence, then eventually just the card quality is going to overwhelm you.
Exactly, and here we see Tryhards doing a very heads-up play. You're going to see that he basically passed the Tolsmir in response to the Wolf trigger, and this is very smart because Tolsmir only triggers while he's in play, right? So if the Wolf comes into play after the Tolsmir has left, there's going to be no fight trigger and there's going to be no life gain. So that's actually very, very relevant, and Tryhards correctly assessing that. Yeah, here it's interesting what Davius is gonna do moving forward. So he has access to Kolaghan's Command, which is something that he can do at instant speed, and that's gonna be the key. Right now, it feels like he is just basically jamming his cards into Tryhard's mana. So right now I expect him to just pass the turn and basically force Tryhards to use their mana on their own turn as opposed to during his turn, and that way he can untap and he can cast a massive Bring to Light.
Yeah, and on top of that, we do have this Oath of Kaya actually coming off suspend. Tryhards has a lot of ways to stop the suspend from working. There's Teferi and Lavina, but let's say if at this point, that unless it's exactly a Teferi, the 3-mana Teferi this turn, I think this Oath of Kaya is actually going to end up resolving.
Yeah, and we see that is kind of like the combo that Tryhards built his entire deck around, right? Without a Teferi or Lavinia in play, Delay is just a terrible card.
Yeah,
it's just a really bad card, because if you think about it,
All it does is delay.
Exactly. Tryhards used their mana on turn 3 or turn 4. I can't remember exactly. I think he had 3 lands in play. So he used 2 mana on turn 3, and now three turns later, DaviusMinimus for no mana investment is going to take still get the effect that he invested his mana originally on. So he hasn't really achieved much.
I don't like using the K command here so much, just because you know about the artifacts your opponent is about to have, you know about the equipment. And it looks like Davius is just realizing or thinking about the same thing, trying to decide exactly which removal spell he wants to use. Oh, I guess killing the Stoneforge Mystic is another way of essentially shutting down the Batterskull, because your opponent can't play it without tapping out, and they're never allowed to tap out.
Yeah, that's exactly what we see here. So they discarded the land, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And now we're probably going to see Helix end of turn on one of these familiar dudes. Oh, I guess we don't. Okay, so I guess we're idolizing the Kaya's deals.
I think Davius is correctly reading his opponent having Spell Queller, most likely, and the Helix will be good for taking care of the Queller, and then the Oath will take care of one of the judge's familiars, most likely.
Yeah, that's usually how Spell Queller works, right? Usually, whenever you quell the spell, and then if your opponent has yet another spell, then it's basically like a house of cards that starts crumbling down, because they get to cast all the spells for free, right? So, of course, Tryhards is trying to. Wow, he's going face.
I guess this is another option. You put your opponent in a position where they probably can't stop all the things you're going to be throwing at their face right now, and certainly Tryhard's life total has gotten extremely low.
I mean, Lightning Helix Tribal, right?
Yeah. I mean, and this is definitely, Lightning Helix doesn't have to target a creature. And even with a Spell Queller, Davius could just Lightning Helix end of turn and then untap and bring to light for some sort of Lightning Helix effect. And that will be all she wrote. So,
exactly.
Davius, I think one thing about Amulet players is we're not known for noticing our opponent's life total.
Our opponent is at 20 or dead.
Yeah.
There's no in betweens. I guess Davius figured that out. That was very cool for them.
Yeah, figured out that the life total does matter. Wow. I do think sideboarding, Davius gets some nice things. There's the Clarion, the Supreme Verdict, the Path to Exile. So I think you want to bring in basically as much removal as you can in this matchup, just because of things like Spell Queller and Kitesail Freebooter, and you want to just make sure you always have an answer for those things so that they can never actually be a 2-for-1.
Yeah, for sure. So we can see that he's streaming on some birds, but it's just like the best card in the deck.
Yeah, that's very surprising to me.
I guess he's thinking that he's heavily relying on those wraths, so he's expecting the birds to die, so that's why he doesn't want them. And I guess he regretted it. Yeah, he's like, I guess it's the best card in my deck, so I'll keep it in.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that the Deafening Clarion hasn't come in yet. I thought that would be the biggest slam dunk of the sideboard. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of Davius's Planeswalkers come out, perhaps even some of his own Teferis, just because a lot of the creatures on the other side you don't get a great bounce out of them necessarily. I mean, bouncing the Spell Queller is quite good, but also just being against an aggro deck, it feels like your Teferi is just going to get attacked down a whole lot. Like, just having Planeswalkers is potentially a liability where just having a bunch of removal spells and then just giant finishers like Niv Mizzet and Tolsimir might just be the way to go. Though he seems to like the Teferis, and he clearly knows this deck better than what I do. So, you know.
Yeah, so I would expect that he's trying to fight the Teferi war, mostly because it blanks opposing Teferis and allows him to do what he wants. I mean, it doesn't entirely blank them. He still cannot bring to light with the Teferi in play. That's a very, very important interaction that basically really wrecks him. But I assume that he's keeping in the Teferis because that means that his spells are going to resolve when he casts them main phase. And if his opponent does not have a Teferi in play, with him having a Teferi in play, then instant speed sweepers are a pretty huge blowout.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so it looks like Davius has figured out what he wants. I'm not surprised to not see any of the other cards. He's streaming a little bit on the combo, which also makes sense to me. It's going to be hard to pull that one off. And Tryhards has a bunch of evasive threats, which are not going to be particularly easy to keep under control. And we have a poker hand. Great poker hand.
Yeah, I mean, having 3 of the same card isn't necessarily good, but when that card's a cantrip, it's probably okay.
It could be anything, even a boat.
I do think we did some trimming on. I don't know what the exact amount of trimming on creatures and planeswalkers for spells were, but I imagine the ratio is still very good.
Wow, this is a tough pickup, actually. He decides to go with the birds in order to keep up the vial instead of trying to use the Night of Autumn in order to destroy his opponent's vial. If Tryhards does not make a second land drop here, he's going to regret it. Okay, we're good. Never mind. Davius got it. Ooh, turn to Stoneforge. This is what people were afraid of in Modern. This is why Stoneforge has been in the ban list for so long. All right, Stoneforge. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, and Davius has a very large number of removal spells in his deck that could take care of the Stoneforge before it was able to put in, say, a Batterskull or something like that. But none of those cards are in his hand. I think he's really banking on this Supreme Verdict eventually cleaning up a board, hopefully getting, if not a lot of card advantage, at least a lot of time, because with losing the bird, it's likely the Supreme Verdict will be like a 2-for-2 or a 2-for-3. So not like, you know, an extreme blowout as far as board wipes go, but just the amount of time that it buys, going back to Davius's card quality, is extremely valuable.
Yeah, exactly. So it's actually not even that, because, you know, the sweeper is going to destroy Stoneforge, and the Stoneforge already replaced itself. So it's not the best sweeper of all time. But I do expect that Davius is probably going to throw in there the Teferi. I think that you are kind of forced to doing that, mostly because you need your opponent to not use their mana, basically, or to use their mana on not putting an equipment into play. Is what I'm trying to say. So if you jam the Teferi, at least you're saying to your opponent, okay, you know, counter this one, you can delay this one, but at least I don't need to face a Batterskull on my next turn.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I was saying with Teferi is I don't know exactly how impactful this Teferi is going to be. It's possible this Teferi even ends up resolving and just getting attacked down by like a sword of Steel and Sinew, though it does get delayed. So I guess it ate a very relevant counterspell. So
yeah, exactly.
Can't ask for much more than that out of a Teferi, honestly.
Yeah, especially when he has a second one in hand already, which Tryhards does not know about. So it makes sense that he would jam into that. Here, even though Saheeli is potentially the most powerful card, we can see Davius taking the Ren instead. And I think that the main reason for this is the fact that it's going to allow him to double spell on the following turn. With the land that he already has in play, he's going to be able to not only play the Ren and 6, but also use you also cast a Teferi in order to bounce. At this point, probably his opponent's Lavinia, maybe?
Yeah, interestingly enough, Delay will not stop Supreme Verdict, but Spell Queller will. So this Lavinia will stop the delayed Teferi if, for example, the Supreme Verdict, whenever it does happen, gets Spell Quellered.
Exactly, but Lavinia counters, so even the Teferi, the Verdict cannot get countered by Lavinia itself.
No, but I was saying if the Verdict eats a Spell Queller, then the Lavinia will counter the Teferi.
Oh yeah, but that's correct. All right, so we're gonna have one of the swords coming down right now. I'm actually very surprised that the Sword of Sinew and Steel was brought in. It doesn't seem particularly powerful in the matchup.
I think it makes sense to me, especially in the presence of Oath of Kaya, because a lot of what Davius does is he sort of forces you to attack his planeswalkers to buy himself a lot of time, and especially with the Oath of Kaya, as you're attacking the planeswalkers, he's draining you and gaining life, and the Sword of Steel and Sinew completely avoids the Oath of Kaya trigger altogether, and just takes out a planeswalker while also pressuring Davius's life total, so that he doesn't. Tryhards doesn't have to choose between pressuring life total and pressuring planeswalkers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually interesting. I guess it's kind of working out here, though.
Yeah.
Because it's denying basically it's denying Davius from playing his own walkers, which he might be forced into doing, even though Tryhards is representing very clearly a Spell Queller with that Aether Vial on 3. Okay, never mind, not anymore.
All right, so interesting to see this end of turn vial. I guess he's stranglering the birds with the Teferi.
That's pretty good value.
This seems like a pretty clean Supreme Verdict.
I
mean, it was gonna look like. I was saying before that I didn't think the Supreme Verdict was going to get good value. It does look like we're getting sort of a 2.5 for one here.
Which is a pretty solid deal. I'll definitely take it 2.5 for one.
Yeah.
Definitely would take it. I think Davius is ecstatic with the way that turn played out. I think that if Tryhards had, which it makes sense, right? Like if you're Tryhards and you see that your opponent is like kind of a super greedy 5-color deck, and they have a Verse of Paradise in play, and you also get to kill their Teferi as well, that's just too much to pass up. So it makes sense, but it did play exactly into Davius's plan.
Yeah. And this sword, once again, doing work. One of the things I was concerned about with the sort of tribal Lightning Helix deck is when you start making all the creatures have 4 power, or 4 toughness, then all of a sudden the Lightning Helix effects become a lot less good.
Yeah, exactly. And look at just Davius playing clean magic right there, baiting out with the inferior planeswalker, not in terms of price, but definitely in terms of power level right now. And then using the Teferi, which was the most powerful planeswalker in that situation, in order to try to again play on tempo. We're still playing this game from a stance where the most important thing is to stay ahead on the battlefield and try to stay ahead on tempo, and that's exactly what the Supreme Verdict did for Davius in the previous turn.
So, given that there was no reveal on the search there, that means that the hand is, I guess, Batterskull Sword of Feast and Famine.
I really doubt that Tryhards would have sided out his Batterskull. So this sounds like a very, very clean Tolsimir, and we're probably going to be packing it in very quickly.
Yeah, I'm very surprised to see the playing the sword rather than the equipping of the steel and sinew. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess Davius had the same read that we have.
So, yeah, I think not equipping a sword against a like I said, tribal lightning helix deck is maybe a suboptimal play.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely a little bit on the greedy side. We're gonna see what Davius does here. Oh, he's playing the tempo game, not even showing the Tolsimir. He's just like, yeah, dude, like spend your next turn playing the same guy again. You're good. I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure I like that. I think that he's trying to like use this path to exile that he drew on that Stoneforge. But now now you're giving tryhards the chance to put the Stoneforge into play and equip it, and now your Tolsimir is not doing much anymore.
Yeah, I really doubt with both these swords that this Tolsimir will ever actually kill anything. On the other hand, Davius does seem very far ahead on just having removal, having answers, and it's possible that this is also just trying to tax the mana on the other side while you're drawing into your combo, which you already have half of. So just trying to force your opponent to use all their mana every single turn to be playing the creatures and equipping things. And once again, Tryhards is giving an option for so Batterskull is out. That is interesting.
Batterskull is out. I am very surprised. Yeah, I don't know why you would take out the Batterskull in this matchup.
Yeah,
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
In any case,
Tryhard's being rewarded for running 6 basics right here. Because got 3 in play and still has a path workout.
Yes, still getting value.
Yeah.
Still getting value from that path. That's some good stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's pretty much. I really cannot see any way for tryhards to get back into this game. I was gonna say we have to be careful because even though there's a Teferi in play, the Aetherval it's still allowing tryhards to play it a little bit at instant speed. However, with him playing out all of his cards in hand, of course, there's nothing that Davius needs to play around anymore.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the sword, they're powerful cards, but without anything to equip to, and with, Davius having such a commanding board and a grip full of relevant cards, I think that this is, all over but the crying,
Yep. For sure. Things looking really good for Team Ice. Keep it up, Team Ice. Davius seems like he's going to take it home probably in a couple of turns.
And notably, Tryhards definitely did flood quite a bit this game. I mean, if you'll notice, there's the 2 vials, then 5 drawn lands. One of those is off path, so that's 7 total mana sources. And then among the actual relevant cards, it looks like maybe 5, cards that actually do anything. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's one of the risks when you're playing a tempo deck like this, or like whenever you're playing an Aethervial deck or something like that, you run into the risk of just flooding like this. It's the same thing with burn. You can keep sometimes hands like that are like 2 lands, and then you just draw the 3rd land, and that is enough. It's just kind of part of the game. I mean, hell, sometimes I play 29 lands and I still get mana screwed. So
yeah, a lot of these aggro decks, the Vile aggro decks, will be running some sort of Horizon land, so like Horizon Canopy or something. I think Tryhards has 1 Horizon land in his deck. But
I think he was running the Silent Clearing, which is the white and black Horizon land.
Right, and I think it's 1 copy, possibly 2, but I think it's 1. And I think that's probably just a concession to having a 3-color mana base rather than a 2-color mana base, which a lot of these sort of tempo-y creature decks like humans. Well, humans is 5-color, but it's but I was more thinking like hate bears type decks are mostly 2 colors and running a lot of horizon lands.
Exactly.
And so the 3 colors allows you to do a lot of fun things like Spell Queller and then Wasteland Strangler, but there definitely is a cost that's paid with the sort of consistency and power of the mana base, and I think that might be part of what we're seeing right here. Is just sometimes when you play an aggro deck, sometimes you'll just draw all the lands, and that can be a very bad situation. Especially if you don't have a bunch of like horizon lands or man lands to sort of mitigate the flooding.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that it kind of sucks, but it's it's just part of the game. It's variance is what allows Magic to be Magic. So getting upset or tilted by variance, it's one of the least productive things you can ever do. I mean, right now this is pretty much over. Yeah, exactly. Just tryhards know that they can't be. Davius gives himself a little pat in the back. Yeah, dude, you earned that one. You earned that one. You got it.
Yeah, and we saw Red and 6 about to ultimate there. So if the board and everything else going on wasn't enough of the difference, I think that definitely would have been enough lightning bolts to the face to end it.
With 2 lanes
Lightning
still in
Helix
hand.
Tribals.
Yeah.
Lightning Helix Tribal. Getting the job done.
Yeah.
I did like that tiny little play at the end there, choosing to let that Tide Hollow Sculler be a free Thought Seize by killing it right away with the trigger on the stack. The way that interaction works is you still get to, Matt Hurley still got to take a card from Davius's hand, but there was never the return clause. But doing so allowed Davius to control the outcome and clear Matt's board, which is the most important thing. When you have that many swords in play, you need to keep the creature count low.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Davius correctly identified that the only possible remotely improbable way of tryhards to get back into that game is he equips both swords to the Tide Hollow Scholar, and somehow the Scholar gets there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many pieces you sacrifice if you get a checkmate,
Exactly. So he correctly identifies that, and he locks it up.
Yeah.
So we're looking at right now, Team Ice is making a comeback. This Team Ice stream, this Team Ice night, this Amulet night is so far pretty good for us. We're 2-1 on the night, right? We're 5-3 overall on the week, which means this next match is going to be KoDiamonds against VizQuiz. If KoDiamonds seals the deal, we will have won the week 6-3, and the last match, Noble against Cat, will just be gravy if Noble's also able to pull it off. So we are right now we're in a win and in spot. Worst we can do is tie this particular week, like we've already done twice this entire league. We've already had 2 ties. We've got 2 more matches to go. If Team Ice wins 1 more, we win the week. And that 0 you see right down there will be a 1, which would mean that we will be tied. Also, it'd be really interesting because that means we would be 15-15 if we're managed to win both of them, which would be really sweet going forward.
That's exciting.
So, Francisco, I have not asked you yet, what is your favorite Amulet Titan punt that you have done?
I mean, the one that I remember the most vividly, it's because it was the most costly, I think. Mm-hmm. So this is in an, I don't know if it's IQ, I think it was States when that was a tournament that SCG was holding. And this is back when Summer Bloom was legal. So I'm just farming events because that deck was broken and people just did not realize it. So I would week in and week out, I would just top 8 any event that I would play. But I don't know if any of you guys has played with Hive Mind. Hive Mind is a very fun card. There's a lot of things that go into Hive Mind. So basically, I'm playing against blue-white Tron because that was the deck back then, and it was pretty sweet. My opponent was actually very, very good at playing the deck. And basically what happens is I play Hive Mind, and I'm like, the Hive Mind resolved, and I'm like, sweet, got it. And so what I do is I go into auto mode, and I play Summoner's Pact, and I say trigger on the stack, and I packed my own pact. So my opponent says, okay, that resolves, I'm going to pact my own Summoner's Pact. And I had been playing Magic for 8 hours that day, and I'm kind of done. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, I just packed my own Summoner's Pact. And I'm like, no, I mean, that's not how it works. And basically we call the judge, and the judge rules that you need to actually say the words hold priority in order to, hold priority, right? So basically I just had the win, and then I countered my own win because I didn't use the correct wording, if that makes sense. Because my opponent untapped, and they paid for their blue pact, and then they went on with the turn, and I ended up losing that game that I literally had won. And if I had won that, I would have moved on to the finals of this event, which I can't remember what it was. But you can probably find it somewhere in Star City website or something. That their archives of deck lists go really, really back. But yeah, that's by far the worst punt I've ever had. I did whine after that one, 100%. Not ashamed to say so.
But did you beer?
Oh no, I whined and whined.
Whined and whined.
Yeah, with and without H.
So the Modern Streamers League is, real quick, brought to you again by Card Hoarder and Card Kingdom. Those are sponsors. We're here for A21 and the Cancer Research Institute, which are two charities we are raising awareness and raising money for. Definitely go check them out. Our next match, as I said before, is KoDiamonds against Viz Quiz. We will have a real quick break, and we'll get right back to action with that match. Go Team Ice. Welcome back to the Forecast of Doom. We have with us something I've never seen before. We have a Vraska versus a Vraska deck. If you look at the bottom of both players' sideboards, both are running Vraska 4-drop, which is just really, really interesting. A card that saw a lot of play in Standard, but hasn't seen too much play in Modern. And I'm really excited to see both of these decks utilizing this. And I believe both these decks will be bringing this in to fight their opponents, because Vraska from Jun's end cleans up with a lot of pesky little artifacts on Urza end, and on Urza end, it deals with Tarmogoyf, Red and 6, Liliana of the Veil. So real interesting that I think this is going to be a real fun Vraska to Vraska match. The Golgari mage in me is very happy right now. But on to the forecast. This is Jund against Urza. These are two pillars of the format battling it out right here. I would think the edge is a little bit favoring Urza. Obviously, having that Thopter Foundry combo is pretty powerful and will win any grindy game. Jund, however, has Scavenging Ooze to slow that down. Also has Renin 6, Culligan's Command, Trophy, Pulse, those types of cards to stop that combo. Liliana of the Veil is actually pretty impressive here. I found if she can ever ult against any sort of combo-y deck, she's very powerful. But her plus can be a little bit of a liability when your opponent wants to pitch a Sword of the Meek to the graveyard. Now, the things that I found really interesting here in my notes, besides Vraska versus Vraska, which just makes me giddy, Plague Engineer is a very crucial card from the Jund side. Plague Engineer on Thopter single-handedly stops the entire Thopter Foundry combo, keeps you from really doing too much. So I anticipate Plague Engineer being a very crucial card in this particular matchup. Now on Urza side, they do have some fatal pushes they can bring in, along with some Assassin's Trophies and extra removal. And on Jen's end, there is that Ancient Grudge, which can do a little bit of work. This is a very, very interesting match to me. I'm anticipating some serious grind. I'm anticipating a slugfest back and forth here, again, from two pillars of the format, from Vraska versus Vraska. That is my forecast. Let's see how it all plays out.
All right, here we go. Oh, man. This is almost the jundiest hand I've ever seen. This is high quality content right here.
Yeah.
This is high quality content. We're putting out the fire. That's what KoDiamonds is doing right now. Yeah. Wow, he shipped the jundiest hand ever for an even jundiest card, even jundiest hand. That's what I mean. Yeah, this one is even jundier because the mana base is a mess.
Right. Yeah. You can't cast all the spells in your hand because it's not the right colors. Like, what's more quintessential Jund? You know, either not having the green for Goyf or the second black for Liliana. You know,
perfect.
It's always how it is with Jund. I'm really interested to see this this matchup, largely because I feel like these Urza decks, just if you look at the cards in them, just have so much staying power and so much. So many of them do a very good job of trying to not let your opponent trade 1-for-1 with you. You know, even Urza, like their most powerful card, often you kill it and it just leaves behind a giant golem or whatever the creature type of that is.
Urza, if it resolves, is basically guaranteed 2-for-1. Ichor Wellspring puts stuff in the battlefield. Chromatic Star will draw you cards if you attempt to destroy it. So this usually this deck is pretty good against doing all about all this stuff. I suspected KoDiamonds, now that they drew the green source just like a master that they are. I wonder if I imagine them that they're just gonna get down to business, and they're just going to start junding them out with Tarmogoyf. Although I guess that he might be thinking, okay, if my opponent drew a 0, I know that they have a Moxopol.
Right,
And
that's Urza.
Exactly, that's Urza mana. So I think, yeah, so they actually agree that they cannot afford to get their clock in place just because Urza is so threatening. And then we see the classic.
Yeah, the classic can't thought seize the top of the deck.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the top of the deck has been nice in providing a second Urza, though notably no third land there. So it's possible this Chromatic Star will need to be sacked at some point, which would put it farther away from the Moxopol. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there.
Exactly. So I would expect that Ryan is going to potentially wait until their next turn, because if they draw a 0, they're going to be able to use the Moxopol for mana, and if they don't draw a 0, then they're going to be able to cycle the Chromatic Star, hoping to hit a land. But I think that if Urza comes down, then that's going to spell all sorts of trouble for KoDiamonds. He's going to be able to answer it in a very roundabout way by bolting the the construct and then minusing the Liliana. So he does have a way to get rid of the entire Urza, package.
I mean, this is Jund doing, what Jund does best, of going discard spell into Liliana. This is almost exactly, I think if KoDiamonds could have picked what his first 3 turn plays would be before the match, it probably would have been something pretty similar to this. It's kind of that thing with Jund of in some ways it can almost be a combo deck. Sometimes it can feel like just discard spell into Liliana, and no deck can beat that.
It is a solid combo. It's a solid combo. Unless the other day I streamed yesterday and I multi-5 against Grixis Shadow, and I was on the play, and my hand was a multi-5, and my hand was land, scout,
this 0. That bobble is the best possible draw, because not only does it allow him to cast Urza, but also now the token is a 4/4, meaning that it survives Bolt.
Bolt doesn't do it. That's actually pretty brutal. The good thing is that the Goyf is pretty big now, I guess, so that's something.
Yeah.
I think that you need to minus the Liliana anyway.
Yeah.
And then you just hope that they're probably not going to be able to get through the Tarmogoyf anyway. So basically, Urza is going to yield exactly 1 card and nothing else, which I guess is the best thing that you can do.
I think there's actually an interesting decision here as to, even if you're minusing, whether you keep the Wooded Foothills in hand, because you could be trying to empty your hand next turn, but you also could be just wanting to save a card in hand so that you could potentially uptick on a future turn and save something like a Bolt or removal spell. I would lean towards keeping the Wooded Foothills in hand, but I'm also not known for playing Jund, so.
Yeah, I mean, you're still expecting to, and it seems like KoDiamonds agree with you. I was gonna say that you're still expecting to cast your Bloodbraid Elves, right? So I feel like once you get to 4 lands, that's when the moment where you start holding the lands in hand. But if KoDiamonds draws something like a Wrenn and 6, then he would have preferred, of course, to play out the Wooded Foothills to crack it.
Yeah. I guess there's also just sort of the question, though, with Jund of, how much does the nth land matter? The first, second, and third land obviously matter a lot. The 4th land matters somewhat, and after that, it's almost a dead card, it feels like.
Basically, it allows you to double spell later in the game, but at this point, a bunch of KoDiamonds spells are just lost a lot of their power. So any discard spell that KoDiamonds draws here, it's effectively a dead draw. Any Fatal Push that he draws, I guess it gets enabled by the.
This is huge. And Urza spin hitting Mystic Forge. Mystic Forge, who, for those not familiar, it allows them to play the top card of their library as long as it is an artifact or a colorless non-land card. And they can also tap the Mystic Forge to exile the top card of their library. So that allows them, if there's a bad card that they like a land or something on top of their library, to go past that. And so many cards in the deck are 0 drops or 1 or 2 drops that can tap to produce mana for future spells. I mean, if we see a Sword of the Meek here, that's just an infinite combo.
Yeah, that's just game. Yeah, so Mystic Forge is basically like casting a Primeval Titan on turn 8. It's just the nuts, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So we can see the
Thopter Foundry is even giant because it means as long as there's a single mana up, the Liliana downtick won't be able to kill the Urza. The Thopter Foundry can just sack the Chromatic Star to make a Thopter. Though I guess with this Lightning Bolt, that will be exactly enough for a Liliana downtick plus the Bolt to take care of the Urza if KoDiamonds chooses to go that route, which I think you have to. I think the Mystic Forge plus Urza is too much to leave available.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you just need to, like, I know that that's why he sat back on his chair, you know, trying. The Bloodbraid Elf is not going to cut it there. I don't think he can afford to take the time to do that. He needs to minus and then bolt the Thopter in response to the activation. This Urza is going to accrue a little bit too much value. Because one thing that you need to remember is, like, Urza, just by sitting there, it's making every single card in KoDiamonds battlefield into a mana source, right? So basically, this Mystic Forge is gonna be severely limited if Ryan only has 4 mana available to him. If he has 8, if he has 8
plus
mana,
every 8 mana and every card drawn probably producing mana. Though I still really think that this is a very favorable position from the Urza side, just because Mystic Forge accrues so much value in the long term, and then on top of that, Thopter Foundry can just I didn't even realize this. The Thopter can be tapped to sack something else, so even if he bolts, the Urza's staying around.
I think KoDiamonds just realized that.
Yeah.
I think he just realized that. So I think this probably means that he's going to switch gears now, and he's going to play the Blood Red, and he's going to try to get lucky. Yeah.
Wow. All of us missed that, and KoDiamonds picked that up. That's a really
Ryan did not miss that.
Yeah.
I can tell you he did not miss that one.
Yeah. So I imagine the Opal is probably what's being sacked here, unless it's possibly the Bauble with the thought that if Urza dies, you want to have as much mana. But yeah, I as I said, I think the Opal is the call.
And I think that he needs to switch gears now. He needs to go beat down because he cannot keep up with this card advantage engine. It's going to be too much.
I don't even think this is much beatdown as much as a pray for Maelstrom Pulse play.
I mean, he can ping that Thopter, I guess.
Pinging the Thopter here is not irrelevant. I think there was a good chance that Thopter wanted to block this Tarmogoyf. And now, without that option available, you can leave the Bloodbraid back to protect the Renin 6. And the Tarmogoyf is just being an abyss.
And Bolt plus Renin 6 actually does kill the Urza. So that's also very relevant in this situation. So I expect him to get in there without the Bloodbraid. Because that's a free block on the Urza, right? So next turn the Bloodbraid else can serve because it represents just they can just minus on the Urza with the Renin 6. But
it's possible he was thinking of attacking with the Bloodbraid Elf to try and coax the Urza into the Renin 6 and then try and sneak one through with some like Ren and 6 and Bolt shenanigans, but I think just given the life gain and ability to produce tokens of the Thopter Foundry, I think a quick kill is unlikely, but
yeah, all of this, we are still on the like if there's only a single Goblin Engineer or the Sword of the Meek that gets drawn, Ryan just goes infinite. So
yeah,
we're on the verge of an infinite combo right now. It's not only the fact that he's super far ahead on board, there are a couple of cards that just win the game on the spot.
Yeah. I'm a little bit confused about why we're playing this off the Urza activation shuffles. I was going to say, if that was on top, why not just cast it? I forgot the Urza activation shuffles.
No, exactly. So I imagine that the Mystic Forge was revealing something that Ryan could not cast, so he needed to do something about it. Yeah. This is going to start getting less and less pretty for KoDiamonds.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Oof, that's even more brutal because that makes the Goyf much smaller, which slows down the clock considerably. I guess it's not going to be that much smaller. What do we have? Like an artifact? Oh, it actually is kind of smaller. The Goyf is going to become a 4/5 instead of a 6/7 like it is right now.
There's enough artifacts that this Goyf is probably never connecting with Visquiz, however you say that, with their life total again. Just there's always going to be the Thopter there at every point in the game. And even things like Nihil's Spellbomb can be sacked for Thopters and draw a card if that's something... Because, like I said, I think it doesn't really matter to shrink the Goyf if you're just planning on always blocking it.
Oof, that's bad. So now he can sack the Spellbomb to just cleanly answer the Ren. Which means that no Bolt shenanigans are available.
Well, there's no red mana up right now.
No. The Astrolabe taps for red.
Not without. I guess you'd have to filter one through from the Thopter Foundry.
So he would tap the Spellbomb for mana and then filter it through the Astrolabe in order to get red mana, which honestly I think he should do. I guess he's not playing around Lightning Bolt, or maybe he has a second Urza in hand and he's basically baiting. He's basically baiting KoDiamonds into.
I think he's essentially.
Okay, that's an interesting draw.
He's trying to just wait till combat and make blockers for this Goyf.
Yeah, I mean KoDiamonds can force the issue right here, by clearing the Urza. Yeah, he can play around like stuff like Maelstrom Pulse by just waiting until combat before he makes the Thopters. But I think it's smart from KoDiamonds to like force the issue right now, because as soon as the Urza dies, now all the mana disappears, right? Because this is only adding mana because of the Urza.
Yeah.
So this can potentially be like if Ryan doesn't play around the second Lightning Bolt, he's going to need to make some Thopters here in response to this one.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether he makes 1, 2, or 3 Thopters. I think you can't play around Maelstrom Pulse so much right now just because... Well, I guess you could by making Thopters and then that would gain life. So I think at least 2 Thopters is probably likely just because that survives a Maelstrom Pulse, and I wouldn't be surprised to see 3, though I honestly don't know. Just it also matters what card is in hand.
And which one is on top.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors, a lot of information that we don't have right now that could affect. I think there's not a terrible chance that one of the cards in hand or on top is Urza, because that's definitely something that you wouldn't be playing, and everything else it seems like you would be wanting to be playing or cycling to try and play other things. But
exactly. I do suspect that we have a good one either on Ryan's hand or on top of the deck, or maybe just a bunch of lands. But
yeah. That's always
Hopefully.
also a possibility.
Hopefully, unbiased commentary. Hopefully, he just has a bunch of lands.
Yeah, I'm really I'm very I'm very pessimistic about Jun's chances here, but I definitely think KoDiamonds has done an excellent job of navigating himself from a essentially unwinnable looking position to a position where he at least is giving himself outs.
Exactly. So if we had the
Francisco, did we lose? I think we might have lost Francisco.
I swear I'm here. I don't know what's going on. Am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
All right. So I was saying, if we had the dreaded advantage VAR, it would probably still be on Ryan's side. However, I think it's much closer to the center right now than it was like a turn ago.
I would say it's just not all the way to the other side, but I'd say it's still pretty heavy. Just a card like Mystic Forge against a deck like Jund is just such a beating. And yeah,
game over. You can see KoDiamond shaking his head. He knows that this one is probably the nail in the coffin. Like, he will need to top deck blood braiding to the nuts.
This was kind of
that's actually lethal. So
and that's kind of what I was saying, of just like we saw KoDiamonds have, the perfect Jund hand of discard spell into Liliana, and just constantly playing threats, playing removal, doing all the Jund things, and it just didn't matter because this Urza deck is so well suited for taking on somebody trying to just 1-for-1 them, because they're not playing a 1-for-1 game. They're playing, unfair nonsense.
Exactly, which is the best kind of nonsense and the best kind of unfair.
Yeah.
And we got a raid from Yellow Hat, Gab Nassif, raiding us with a party of 328. Thank you so much, Gav. Welcome everybody from Nassif's stream. We're currently on the fourth match of today. We're playing 5 matches on Mondays and 5 matches on Wednesdays here on the Modern Streamers League. So this is match number 4, and we have KoDiamonds on Jund versus Ryan on Urza Thopter.
And so this is interesting. One of the things I was wondering about in this matchup is if Surgical was going to be something coming in, because it's not quite as good against the Thopter combo as it seems, because you can certainly you could try and get a Sword of the Meek, but then they can just sacrifice another artifact in response. However, I think just the ability to potentially surgically extract an Urza at any point dramatically increases your chances of winning the game if there's no Urza in your opponent's deck.
Yeah, 100%. And we see Nassif saying #Team Ice. Clearly, Nassif knows what's up and is cheering for the correct team. Smart. This Nassif guy is very smart, But yeah, so here, probably the best thing that we can do is we can Thoughtseize an Urza and just surgical it. Just like no messing around. Unfortunately, we get a little whiffsky here.
It's just a handful of cantrips. Part of me is tempted to just take the Astrolabe and surgical it and leave your opponent with less resources, but that may be far too greedy.
I don't know how greedy that is. When you're playing a 1-for-1 game and you are already mulliganing into 6, and you get a chance to turn one of your cards, which is otherwise a blank, into basically an effective second Thoughtseize. I think it's defensible for sure. I think it would be one of the things that you do on the draw step, because they can't punish you for that. But yeah. So here comes the Astrolabe.
There's also just a possibility that this surgical is just meant for Urza, that you're just supposed to hold on to it until you can get an Urza in the graveyard. You surgical that Urza, and then you say, okay, you don't have Urzas in your deck. What's your plan from here? You know, make your opponent demonstrate to you that they have some other way to win this game without Urza, which I think they definitely just with, just normal Thopter Sword, have the possibility to do. But
I think that Astrolabe is secretly or not so secretly one of the most powerful cards in this deck. Like the fact that it just for 1 mana it gives you fixing. Like for example, we can see that Ryan is playing exactly 1 basic swamp and exactly 1 basic forest, and no more fixing past that. So it provides a little bit of fixing. Also, if he plays the swamp and the forest, he's very far from casting Urza, which is not a minor thing. And not only that, but it also basically puts an artifact on play, which with an Urza in play represents mana. It also represents mana with Wear of Invention, and it also replaces itself, so it doesn't even cost you a card. So Astrolabe is definitely one of the most important cards in the deck, and one of the enablers of the deck. I don't think the deck would not be nearly as good as it actually is without the presence of Archon's Astrolabe.
Yeah, I think, one of the most common threads you'll see among the powerful modern decks is decks that have good cantrips and decks that have good mana, and Astrolabe is both of those. You'll see there's been decks that have been enabled by Ancient Stirrings and previously Faithless Looting, just whoever had the most broken cantrip, and then different 2-mana lands like Eldrazi Temple, like the Trump lands, like the Bounce lands, powerful lands like Cavern of Souls. Almost every powerful deck through the history of Modern has been some combination of very powerful lands and very powerful cantrips enabling some very broken things.
Yeah, so something busted. Some busted stuff is great. One minor thing that happened last turn, which I wanted to mention, is KoDiamonds smartly fetching in response with the Python Needle on the stack, and the big reason for that is that if the Python Needle resolves, you don't get any more priority. So Python Needle could have named Wooded Foothills, and if Ryan had named that means that KoDiamonds wouldn't have been. It's basically a Stone Rain on a 1-mana artifact, which would have been pretty hilarious. We see the end step fetch and no using the K command on the end step. That is surprising.
Very surprised by that. I was very much expecting the K command to be hit the Pithing Needle and draw a card. Obviously, this K command has future plans. I'm interested to find out what, because I don't think we're gonna get much better artifact targets other than maybe the token that Urza creates, because that could be quite large. Maybe a Thopter Foundry at some point.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's more of a matter of Ryan is clearly ahead on board, and if KoDiamond does not cast the cards that he has, and he doesn't cast them on a timely manner, he's simply going to end up behind and losing the game with a bunch of cards in his hand that he was never able to cast.
Right, you have this side that's going to be producing a lot of Thopters in a deck full of artifacts that have draw a card somewhere in their text box.
Exactly. So even now, if we try to use KoDiamond's command on the Python Needle now, Sai can sacrifice it in response and get some extra value that he wouldn't have otherwise been able to get.
Yeah.
So that definitely feels like a slightly missed opportunity. That's actually a massive draw.
Yeah.
That Fatal Push, it's a huge, huge draw. It's going to potentially allow KoDiamonds to catch a little bit of a break. He's going to be able to cycle this Nurture and Peatland and enable Revolt by sacrificing the land. And then he's going to be able to Fatal Push the Sai before doing anything else, which I think is going to be pretty huge.
Yeah, and then the only I guess, remaining question is whether to uptick for a land or downtick on one of these tokens. I imagine it's probably going to be a downtick, but I could definitely see upticking as well. I think they both have merits. It's possible, you make the calculation that you're not going to win this game unless you just draw a Plague Engineer at some point, and then the tokens are getting taken care of for free. Yeah.
Yeah, but so the difference is that if he does go uptick here, that means that basically he's going to get if he doesn't draw exactly on the next turn the Plague Engineer, this Ren is actually going to get be contended with, which I don't think it's what KoDiamonds wants to be doing here.
Yeah.
So I think he wants to try to get the most value out of this Ren 6. This is like his only battlefield presence right now.
I think I have realized why the Pithing Needle did not get destroyed by the Kolaghan's Man. Pithing Needle's on Liliana of the Veil. I believe KoDiamonds sided out all the Liliana of the Veil.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That actually makes it.
And it looks like somebody in Twitch chat also just said that exact same thing. Maybe I should look at Twitch chat. They probably have good advice.
When in doubt, just look at Twitch chat. They are always right.
Yeah, 100%. I've never gotten bad advice from Twitch chat.
Never ever.
Especially while playing Amulet, which is a very simple deck with no complicated decisions that Twitch chat has ever had any bad opinions on.
Exactly. That phase from KoDiamonds basically describes the entire situation. He's going to be able to deal 2 damage to the Vraska and answer it right now, probably making. Yeah, he has no threats whatsoever. So
there's so many interesting 4-mana threats post board in this Urza deck. I'll be interested to see if we see the 4-mana Tezzeret, because just being able to plus that to look at the top 5 for an artifact every turn gets out of control very quickly, and it's got an ultimate that can end the game extremely quickly. We're 1 or 2 artifacts away from that just being lethal, depending on whether KoDiamonds fetches. So
the Tezzeret is super scary. What we see here is that he's going with 2 damage plus destroy artifact, and this killing the Thopter. This makes sense to me. It's possible that Ryan has some suboptimal cards in hand, maybe extra more Astrolabes and stuff like that. However, they missed their land drop last turn, so it's definitely not a land.
Yeah, I feel once again it's not like KoDiamonds in both of these games has been able to keep some degree of parity through most of the game, but if you look at just like cards in hand and everything, the board parity is not matching what's really going on, which is just this Urza deck constantly pulling ahead with its 2-for-1s and its powerful combo potential. And just we're going to see, I think it's likely we see the Urza spin, if not now, maybe end of KoDiamond's turn.
Urza doesn't work, so you can't use Urza on your opponent's end step and then be able to cast the card on your turn. I don't think that's how it works.
I think if you don't get to cast it instantly, it's not you may cast. Or
no,
is it you may cast?
You may cast it this turn, is what they say. So if it's not an instant, you don't get to cast it. So this is why we see Ryan activating.
Reading cards OP.
Reading cards is indeed OP. However, if KoDiamonds manages to find another Fatal Push, that's probably like his best draw right now.
Yeah, he can answer the construct with a Fatal Push, and then answer the Urza with a Fatal Push, surgical Urza, and answer the construct with a Kolaghan's Command. He would want to make sure casting this Bloodbraid Elf that he holds control right now, because if he hits a Fatal Push, he wants to maintain priority to be able to fetch the Wooded Foothills to have the Revolt. So that's like a little thing to be careful with people playing Jund on MTGO.
Exactly. And in paper too, you need to say, well, I holding priority with this fatal push on the stack. I need to. You gotta say hold priority. I taught you guys this earlier today. You gotta say hold priority.
Yeah.
Man, this is rough. Like, this is rough. It's insane how we were having like a cool match back and forth, and then Urza came down, and
Urza is a very busted Magic card. And I think likely these artifact decks are, it seems like that just looking at the new set that Wizards isn't done printing broken blue artifact enabling cards. So I think these decks are just going to get better as time progresses and as people refine their builds. And I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these Urza decks gets something banned at some point. I don't know if Urza is exactly the card that will get banned, but I just get the feeling that there's enough broken, and maybe it's Mox Opal. People have been talking for a long time and saying that Mox Opal is one of the most broken cards in Modern, which is definitely true.
It's definitely true, yeah.
And we've seen so many bans. We've seen bans around Mox Opal, like Kirkland Ironworks. So maybe the Opal, maybe the Urza will be eventually the deck that takes down the Opal.
Maybe it's certainly I believe it to be the best deck in Modern right now, and I wouldn't
after Amulet, of course.
So there's a tier 0 deck, which is Amulet, and then this is the tier 1 deck.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a tier -10, which is Amulet.
Yeah.
But besides that, what I'm saying is that the most scary thing that I see about this is the fact that these lists are very unrefined. When before Amulet became broken, before KCI became broken, before Pod even became broken, there were years and years and years of the hive mind, everybody testing and tinkering with this list, trying to figure out what the most optimal builds were, which cards were worth it, which cards were not. Right now, we're seeing very, very early versions of Urza decks, and they are already consistently presenting, just showing themselves as one of the best decks in the format, if not the best deck in the format. So it's very, very interesting to see how we see that this Urza deck develops as the time goes by. If in a couple of years we're actually seeing a banning of maybe Sword of the Meek goes back into the ban list where it once was. Maybe we see Urza go. Arcan's Astrolabe,
and I definitely agree with that. It's very interesting to see how powerful these decks are, even in this experimental stage. Where people are just figuring out what's the best build, what are the best flex slots. There's so many decks in Modern that have had years of tuning and years of refining, and there's Jund players out there who could tell you exactly how many lands you're supposed to run in a Jund deck, and anything else is just wrong. And these Urza decks, what the mana base is supposed to look like, whether you're supposed to be running Galvanic Blasts or Fatal Pushes or Thought Seizes or what. I think all of that is a very it's very experimental, and it's really going to be interesting to see how they evolve just as it gets more refined.
Exactly. It's definitely in its infancy, and I think that it can only get better, really. So here we see KoDiamonds in response to the Welding Jar, which is of course kind of a big deal right now, because it's threatening to regenerate the massive construct that we have in play, which actually just threatens to kill KoDiamonds straight up. And he chooses to go for 2 damage plus destroy an artifact instead of making Ryan discard the sword.
Yeah.
I think that maybe what he thinks is that this game is not about the combo anymore. and that he cannot beat the combo. So he's going to try to basically beat Ryan at a fair game before he...
I think I would have preferred the discard here, just because with having Sword of the Meek in the graveyard, it would allow you to surgical potentially in the future in response to a Thopter Foundry, which...
Now Ryan basically used an Urza spin and he got Inventor's Fair. He has...
I think this is actually
this is actually lethal. Yeah, this is actually lethal now. I guess it's not, because he has exactly enough mana to activate the sword once.
If you activate it once, then that's enough.
No, because in response to the token trigger, he can surge on the sword, and the sword doesn't come back. So I think he has exactly enough mana, and because of that, we might have the blowout here.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see if he actually chooses to sack. It could be something where if you have the read that, hey, the only thing your opponent could do right here is surgical, might as well play around the only card that matters.
Oh, he's going for it. He's going for it. He's tapping the mana. He sacked the artifact. Okay, now is the time. Now KoDiamonds needs to surgical right now, and he's making sure that there's nothing else. And wow, this is a huge blowout.
Yeah.
This is the only thing that KoDiamonds was just holding on to. He did not surgical the Astrolabe at the beginning. He did not use it later on when he was able to get some value out of discarding it earlier. He went for the full blowout, and it ended up paying off. Like, the exact things that needed to happen ended up happening.
The unfortunate thing is that still there's just this board full of useless Astrolabes and Chromatic Stars that can make a significant Thopter force, and KoDiamonds being at only 8 life, is looking to draw some sort of removal spell for the Thopter Foundry. It has to be essentially a removal spell for the Thopter Foundry this turn, which gives a turn of several Urza spins. I honestly don't see how KoDiamonds gets out of this.
Of course, don't get me wrong. Like, I think Ryan is still massively ahead, but this is exactly what KoDiamonds needed to have a shot. Like, now he can maybe...
And you can't even kill the Thopter Foundry because of the Welding Jar, and there's about to be a bunch of tokens. So I guess Plague Engineer seems like the out to me, because that answers the Thopters, and it...
What a master. What a master. Which card did you say he needed to draw to win this one?
Yeah, he needs Plague Engineer.
Plague Engineer. Yeah, right. I know that one. That one rings a bell.
So the question he might be asking himself is, does he wait a turn? Does he take an extra damage or extra 2 damage this turn to try and coax maybe some Thopter sacking for Thopters on his opponent's turn? I don't think you do, because I think the next production of Thopters is going to happen at your own end step. I don't think there's going to be any main phase Thopters happening.
Yeah, there's no reason for Ryan to go for it for any action in the main phase at all. So I think that he's just going to...
I don't necessarily disagree. I don't necessarily disagree with what KoDiamonds is doing here, because I guess the thing he's thinking about is that there's Urza activations if he doesn't wait a turn. Okay, he is playing it. But the thing I was starting to think is, since Urza activations happen, and as you pointed out, they have to happen on your turn, if he leaves mana up to produce Thopters, then he's not using his Urza activations.
Yeah, certainly. However, now, KoDiamonds needs to find an answer to Urza. Basically, he needs Ryan to whiff for like 1, 2, potentially 3 activations. If he finds 2 artifacts out of the Urza activations, or like one of those can also be a land. He can get a 3rd activation in. So he needs Ryan to whiff on 3 activations, and then...
Oh, played a land and fetched, so that's interesting.
Yeah, so now a land is actually a whiff. I mean, I guess he thinks that the inventor sphere is now gone, so there's really no other ways. Oof. And
Yeah.
yep.
I guess the question is, we just saw the deck list. I'm curious to see how many remaining removal spells there are in the Urza deck, because we've already seen 2 fatal pushes and at least 1 assassin's trophy. So I don't imagine there's a gigantic amount of removal, though it's possible you could do this without any removal. Yeah, just by doing things like Urza and Tezzeret.
Yeah, redundant Urza also represents a massive construct now. So yeah, like every turn that goes by, Ryan is effectively drawing and casting at least 3 cards, and yeah, he's just falling further and further behind.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, the Jund deck is excellent at doing 1-for-1s and 2-for-1s, and this Urza deck is sort of laughing off the 1-for-1s and 2-for-1s as it, you know, casts a Mystic Forge and Urza's twice or 3 times a turn. Interesting to not see another Urza activation there. That suggests to me that the top card of the deck is probably either a Tezzeret or a removal spell. And given that KoDiamonds just drew a land, I think we can effectively call this one.
Yep, for sure. KoDiamonds had like a couple of little breaks there.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't enough to overpower like the massive advantage that this Urza deck generates. You can never count the Urza deck out. It's
definitely
so powerful.
KoDiamonds. I think KoDiamonds navigated this match very well. A lot of really great plays from both sides. I think, unfortunately, that this is just it. It comes down to the matchup, and the matchup is just so heavily tilted for the Urza deck, and it decides to not even go for the uptick, to just start making 5/5s, just because
beat him down.
Yeah, I mean, this forces a block from the Plague Engineer, which turns on the Thopter Foundry, and you know, it's sort of a pick how you want to win at this point. You know, choose your own adventure.
Choose your own. Exactly. Yeah. At this point, like, I don't think there's anything that KoDiamonds can draw to get out of this one. I mean, that's probably his best top deck, but it's not really going to matter. He's dead in multiple ways. He's dead to the Tezzeret. He's dead to the Thopters in the air. I guess the only way he doesn't die is if he finds a Plague Engineer off of this Blood Braid, and that just buys him a turn. It doesn't even stabilize or anything.
Yeah, because then the Tezzeret just down ticks again, and
exactly. So yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, he takes 1 from the Urza, he chomps with the Bloodbraid, and he trades with the other 5/5 that Tezzeret's gonna make. But now there's literally nothing that he can draw.
You're at 1 life. Your opponent's got a Thopter Foundry. I don't like your chances.
Vraska right on time. Would have been good. I guess not at any point in the game. I guess the previous turn, if he had destroyed the Thopter Foundry, it would have done something, but doesn't look good. Yeah, Vraska was a little bit too late. not a relevant card at all. Urza was, though. Urza was certainly powerful. It's showing off its power. It's kind of cool that, you know, they finally made an Urza card after literally like 23 years. 22 years. That's when the Urza story kind of started, with like maybe 21 now. But they delivered for sure.
Yeah.
The Urza card is really, really, really powerful.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Lots of cards with Urza on them, producing way too much mana in Modern right now.
including Urza itself.
Yeah.
All right. KoDiamonds is just, I don't know, like staring at the board state. I don't understand why we don't see a concession anymore, but I don't think that we have really anything to talk about at this point. There we go. All right. We finally hit the concede. But style points. Just swinging in with the Thopters. Yeah. You don't touch my 5/5. My 5/5 is staying home.
Like I said, choose your own adventure on how you want to win this one is kind of what those last few turns were.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. But I mean, I guess the forecast was right one more time.
Super grindy. So I really don't want to press this button here, but I kind of have to. Team Fire. Ryan definitely earned his victory there. Perfectly piloted by Kevin, but unfortunately, Urza looking really, really good right now. Urza is just such a powerful deck. But right now, we are at 5-4 on the week. Team Fire is up on the season. Team Ice won the previous season. But on the week right now, Team Ice is won 5 matches to Team Fire's 4. We have 1 match left on the week, 1 match left on the night to determine who's going to win. So if Team Ice wins the next match, if NobleMurloc beats KatLight, Team Ice will win the week 6-4. If KatLight wins, it will be 5-5, and we will have our 3rd tie in 8 weeks between Team Fire and Team Ice.
The coverage is too biased. We got too many Ice people here. I'm going to start rooting for Fire because they have a better charity anyway.
I do. I like both charities a lot. But when I saw that A21 was Team Fire's charity, I was like, I kind of hope we don't win.
Yeah, that's why I lost all my
Michael.
matches in like the earlier parts of the league. It's just
that makes sense. That's why you started 0-5. It's because you wanted to.
0-6.
0-6. I'm sorry. I remember
respect.
I distinctly remember there was one particular loss you had, and from someone who wasn't watching, like someone who didn't know Amulet Titan's perspective, they would have looked at your deck. I think you were it was your perspective too. They would have said, "Man, that guy's deck sucks. It didn't do anything." But the entire match, you were a bounce land away from lethal. Like game 1 and game 2, you even had like an Ancient Stirrings whiff, no bounce land, and like 3 or 4 turns pass, you just sit there being like, yeah, well, I guess I'm just going to wait till I draw, I don't know, something that's a 9 of in my deck. But yeah, it was rough watching that particular loss that you had.
So go Team Fire.
Wow, unbiased commentary.
We have a traitor.
We don't have that here.
So next, like I said, we have a Super Friends. It's kind of like a Super Friends deck against that's NobleMurloc Scott's Super Friends deck against KatLight's Blue-White Spirits. KatLight known as the Spirit Queen. Let's see what happens then. We're gonna have a quick break, and then onto the forecast, and then onto the final match of the evening and of the week. We'll see you in a minute.
Yeah. How long of a break? Two minutes? Okay.
welcome back to the Forecast of Doom. You guys saw my fantastic punt, then forget to hit the transition button a minute ago there. Sorry about that. I did not hit that little gray button. So you get to see my thinking face for just an extra minute there. What I was really gifting you was the extra gift of seeing my face do this for just an extra couple seconds. So back onto the Forecast of Doom, we have HellKatMTG, Catlight on Azorius Spirits. This is a really neat tempo deck. The blue-white Spirits deck with some tax elements up against a big doubling time Planeswalker-centric deck with... Wait, what is that? What is that? You want to be doubling seasoning all of those Planeswalkers? This certainly wins style points off of NobleMurloc's side. I don't know if he's going to be able to beat the tempo beatdown from Spirits. Catlight's certainly going to want to keep NobleMurloc off tempo in this particular matchup, because if this game goes long, there's not much she can do in the face of Emrakul, Gideon, or a Karn that grabs an ensnaring bridge and completely locks down your game plan. I think that NobleMurloc, if he mulligans for hands with ramp that can ramp like Birds of Paradise, Noble Hierarch, that can just progress his mana and end up dropping Gideons and other powerful Planeswalkers, I think he can win this. And Catlight is going to be looking to keep him off balance from doing that, using things like Spell Queller and Mausoleum Wanderers to keep him off tempo, off base, while punching face with the Stoneforge Mystic package. There is a Settle the Wreckage in the sideboard out of NobleMurloc, but remember, these are open deck lists, so Cat will know that that is a card he could bring in, and she can try to play around it if he's ever holding up 4 open mana. So that is the Forecast of Doom. I hope you guys like it. Let's see how it all plays out.
All right, last match of the day.
I definitely think playing Settle the Wreckage in open deck lists is a big power move.
Oh, it is. It is a bold move. Oh, Morloc's got the dino going on and everything. He ain't messing around.
Here's what you do. You put a Settle the Wreckage in your sideboard with open deck lists. You never bring it in against anybody. You just have the psychological factor of everyone knowing it's there.
Ugh, these hands are brutal.
I love watching... love watching Scott's reactions to everything. He's always definitely one of the most entertaining people to watch on camera.
100%. He makes it worth it.
With me, it's like half the time the angle is wrong, and then the other half of the time I just have a concerned look on my face.
Yeah, I mean, you got to punt, right? You need to figure out the best way to punt.
Yeah, I'm staying
on brand always. All right, so the Spirit Queen is back. We had her playing all sorts of non-spirit decks before this, and now she's done. The spirits are back. The tempo plays. You never know what to expect on the other side. Oh man, playing against spirits is so exhausting. Yeah.
I mean, hats off to NobleMurloc for really bringing something creative and different, and I think unexpected to this tournament. I'm really interested to see just how this deck works, what it does, because it's got a lot of interesting cards, a lot of interesting things going on, and if it's able to do its thing, it looks like it's going to be very powerful. So I'm excited to see if he can make that actually happen any of the games. If we'll get to see any crazy doubling seasons shenanigans, I would be very happy.
Yeah, that would certainly be exciting. When I was looking over at the list, I'm like, geez, I guess we're gonna need to do some gatherer search. While we're watching this match, we're gonna have to, real quick. Let's go to gatherer. Check this one out. Samut, what? Samut? How do you say that? Yeah. A lot of modern staples in NobleMurloc's deck right here.
I mean, he's got 5 mana next turn, so he just has to draw a doubling season and then like a
walker.
Yeah, I mean, one of the walkers.
Cat is not even representing the Spell Queller. She chose to go for the Mausoleum Wandering and hold up Stoneforge Mystic line. So
Tameo can actually do a lot to slow down this board with that tap ability.
Definitely the other ability is not going to be that relevant. Oh no, the other ability can actually target your opponent's creatures, right? That's how that works. Okay, so he's gonna be able to draw some cards if he wants to. He just needs to like plus on probably both Wanderers, I guess. Yeah, that's what he chooses to go for. So basically now the Wanderers are going to draw Morlock into into hopefully some more action if Cat chooses to go for the aggressive route and try to get the game over with. I basically expect nothing but a Batterskull coming in the end step, mostly because Cat's lands are a Plains and a Canopy, so no blue mana there and no Rattle Change shenanigans to expect. So this is just going to be a clean Batterskull just coming into play.
Yeah, I would be surprised if she attacks with the Maelstrom Wanderers, unless maybe she plays a Lord. If she plays something like a Supreme Phantom and the Wanderers are hitting for 3, she might decide that the 3 damage each is worth a card. That's Lightning Bolt, so
Yeah, so that's basically it. Like if she can basically guarantee, so with the Droskull Captain coming down, I do expect, like, this is basically a 2-turn clock, right? Morlock is dead next turn, in the air, that is. With basically any spirit, is that correct? So that's going to be 4. He's going to be taking 6 right now, down to 7, and then any spirit does it. So
yeah, but it would give him outs like I believe he has the 6 mana Chandra, if I'm not mistaken.
That would be spicy.
I'm not certain. No, maybe not. Chandra Awakened Inferno. So that definitely would clear the board, I believe.
Yeah, it would kill his own creatures as well, though. So then the Batterskull will basically reign supreme there.
Yeah, but the Batterskull wouldn't have a germ, and the Stoneforge would be gone. Doesn't
the Chandra do 3 damage? The germ is a 4/4.
Oh, it's 3? Okay, so the germ would survive.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Tameo is basically gaining 6 life right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would have really expected a big attack. I think if Cat's not careful, we could end up in a situation where, like, a Karn into Ensnaring Bridge could be a sneaky way for NobleMurloc to get himself back into this game.
Yeah, I don't think that he has enough mana for that. He's short 1 mana.
Right, but I'm saying if you're just attacking with a germ token and just attacking at Tameo, that definitely.
Yeah, that's kind of brutal. That now he can't even go at the the Mausoleum Wanderers because they have Hexproof now. That's kind of brutal.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, if he survives this turn, he would have enough mana next turn. If he can survive this turn without sacking his creatures, then next turn he could Karn Bridge.
I don't like this. That's a Stoneforge activation.
That's probably sort of.
That is Feast and Famine, I think, right? Light and Shadow. Okay. Light and Shadow is actually not great right now. I mean, it's fine, but it's not like insane. Feast and Famine would have been a beating right there.
Yeah.
Because that would mean that basically Cat gets a whole nother turn.
Right. We're still in a place where Chandra clears everything but the germ, and Cat still not giving the draws and and still killing the Tameo. So NobleMurloc getting a lot of time here. Karn seems like an amazing draw right now.
Summit. All right, what does that one do?
I'm gonna have to gather.
Let's do it real quick in chat. So card summit. Sorry. This is not good content, guys. Like summit detested. There we go. All right. It's not good content right here. You know, the commentators don't even know what modern staple Samut detested does. You know, this is so bad. There we go. All right, so +1 target creature gets double strike. We don't care about that one. 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. Okay, so this is basically is gonna trade with the Rock Skull Captain. That makes sense.
Yeah. Forked Bolt, not the most exciting card right now, effectively.
No, of course, like Samut is here because of the ultimate, right? Like the ultimate with double in season. When Samut comes down, we get the ultimate immediately, and we get to go get more walkers and potentially like an Emrakul or something. Yeah. So yeah, this deck sure is a spicy number.
I'm still feeling like NobleMurloc is getting so many turns towards a Karn, and
and Cat is not even representing the spell Quellers or any kind of counter magic.
Yeah.
So it is certainly interesting. Like a Karn off the top just basically changes the paradigm entirely.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's the power of Karn.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess now not anymore, but this is a forced block.
No. Still right. No. I was
if it wasn't lethal attack, she went after the Samut, then now if he draws Karn, wow.
Yeah,
exactly. He's 1 mana short because he blocked with Noble Hierarch.
Oh.
Oof, that's brutal.
Yeah, I think he removed his out, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know,
Reddish coming in.
Yeah. Ashiok definitely seemed like one of the less powerful planeswalkers in this
main
matchup.
Deck Ashiok. If maybe Morlock was expecting an Amulet infested metagame, so that's why he was main decking the Ashiok, you know?
He's Team Ice though. All the Amulet players are Team Ice.
I know. Wow, that was an interesting game, and that's cool, you know. Like that is one of the cool things about Magic, you know, just being able to identify. Okay, so I am in the worst possible spot right now. What is the best thing that can happen right now? How can I possibly win this? Oh, NobleMurloc's got it.
Yeah,
he is.
And I think, you know, I really respect what NobleMurloc is doing right here, because there's a lot of people who, after you make a punt or you make a play mistake that makes you lose the game, you lose your head. And I think it's very important in that sort of situation to move on from it and to just play the best Magic that you can play. And I think, you know, that he's representing that is a very positive thing. Aether Vial out of the Spirits deck, an extremely good turn 1 play, though. The amount of ramp that is happening on NobleMurloc's side is sort of out of control. We're looking at most likely
turn 2 Hero of Dominaria. How does that sound for you?
Turn 3 Teferi, yeah.
Turn 3 Teferi, yeah.
And
that's solid.
If Cat doesn't have a 1-drop, it's possible this Teferi. Well, I was going to say it was possible that Teferi could minus on the Vial, though that looks less likely now. We could also see a Samut come down and Forked Bolt on some whatever creature she decides to play.
So apparently Saint Doom says punt then play on. Interesting. That's a concept.
Yeah.
That has to be your secret Moto account now. Punt then play on. All right, coming back to the match. Kat just fetched, and now she's in the tank. I wonder what she's thinking about. She must be trying to figure out, okay, what is what can happen now? She must be going through Murloc's list and trying to figure out, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen on this situation? He is going to have access to at most 6 mana next turn. What can I do to play around it? We're going to see what happens now. I'm honestly excited to see. I kind of want to see something stupid coming out of like Murloc's top of the deck and just deliver the sweetest beats.
Yeah, it's interesting. If Murloc hits like a doubling season and he's able to resolve that, then the Samut, if it resolves, just wins the game. The Teferi, if it resolves, could make for some reason the Samut got countered, the Teferi could resolve and then get an emblem immediately.
Yeah, some pretty busted things can happen on Murloc's side for sure.
I'm kind of wondering what Kat could be wondering about. It's possible she could be wondering about playing an Unsettled Mariner versus maybe some relevant spirit like a Supreme Phantom. So she might just be tanking between going fast and making herself more insulated against removal. Or there could be something like a Rattle Chains or a Thalia that could be... there's a lot of considerations she could be having. I think if she has a Thalia would be the play. So that's probably what she was tanking about. Is she probably has it was a Stoneforge Mystic, and then some other 2-drop she was wondering about, and that makes sense because Stoneforge Mystic definitely comes with a future required mana investment, and also if it doesn't survive. Isn't doing a whole lot.
Yeah, precisely. So I guess it makes sense. It's interesting that Murloc goes for the Teferi and pluses.
It's probably just a drawing cards is probably what he's thinking is, I've got a bunch of broken cards in my deck right now. Cat doesn't have a big board presence. I'm going to use this opportunity to get this Teferi down and draw as many cards as I can milk out of it.
Yep, and it's certainly looking good. Like Cat does, no 1-drop at the end step. It's pretty huge. Like if Mausoleum Wandering had come down, that could effectively pressure the Teferi, get that loyalty a little bit lower. That would have been very, very good for Cat. But now that Teferi just untapped, and Teferi just is going to do it, probably start the turn with still 5 loyalty. Yep.
Teferi
is pretty massive.
Teferi a little weaker in Murloc's deck than a lot of other Teferi decks, just because the untapping 2 lands at end step does a lot less when you have fewer instants and instant speed ways to use your mana. Yeah. But still an extremely powerful card. Being able to answer any permanent is extremely powerful, and drawing cards is obviously always great. So
no questions there.
And a very relevant emblem for the doubling season.
Murloc really wanted to see that deploy the Gatewatch.
Yeah.
That's pretty brutal.
So we might see this Gideon Plus here?
Yeah, exactly. I expect the Gideon Plus right now, mostly because Cat is... And this is the beauty about Stoneforge Mystic in the Spirits deck, is that what is Murloc supposed to play around, right? Is he supposed to play around Spell Queller? Is he supposed to simply expect Cat to just activate Stoneforge Mystic in the end step? And Cat actually gets a lot of value from her opponents not knowing what to play around and having all of these different things that could happen to them. And Gideon kind of blanks that, though.
Yeah, there's so much possibilities of what Cat could do on her turn. Is she putting in a Batterskull? Is she putting in her sword? Is she, how many creatures is she putting in? I could have seen anywhere between 3 and 8 power coming the next turn, exactly, on the attack.
Yeah, and now with Gideon in play, this Teferi is going to probably run rampant. and Cat will just need to spend a lot of resources trying to answer the Teferi itself. However, if the vial does go up to 3 and a Droxel Captain comes down, we might have some trouble though.
The swords are also a lot worse with Gideon in play, just because you're not getting those triggers whenever they're hitting Gideon. One interaction, we were talking about Settle the Wreckage earlier, and one interaction that NobleMurloc, I think, caught that maybe we were missing was that with Gideon, you can force all your opponent's creatures to attack and then cast Settle the Wreckage. So, that Gideon Settle the Wreckage interaction is actually quite powerful, and when you've got one copy in your deck, it also is a card that you're always leaving your opponent with the question of when and how much they're going to play around it.
Exactly,
so.
Or can I even afford to do so?
Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right, things looking pretty good for Murloc here. He keeps on. He's drawing 2 cards a turn. Wow, I guess he's considering minusing maybe on the sword. Nah, he's gonna draw cards.
Yeah, I think
Murloc knows what's up.
You're so close to that ultimate, and you're gonna start threatening Nahiri ultimate. And if things ever get out of hand, this is also a nice interaction of just Gideon making your opponent start to commit many creatures to the board, and then you can clean all that up with a Wrath of God eventually. So Gideon, I imagine, is going to be plussing until there's quite a substantial force on the other side, and then this Wrath of God, if it doesn't get countered, should put Murloc basically so far ahead it's impossible to come back from that.
Wow. We do have the Spell Queller.
Yeah, I kind of want to just cast this Wrath here.
Yeah, that's exactly. Murloc is enjoying this one quite a bit. So I think that Murloc will be okay if he wants to. I guess he's not casting the Wrath.
Oh.
Yeah, no, you definitely want to cast the Wrath here.
Yeah, I mean, you're
clean the board.
You're only taking out 3 of your opponent's creatures and 4 of yours, but you're leaving yourself on an empty board with 3 planeswalkers, 2 of which are getting very close to ultimate, and 1 of which is protecting the others. I just don't think there's the cards in Cat's list to come back from that.
No, and Murloc seems to be extremely far ahead. I really struggle to see what Cat can do to get back on in this game, especially because there's no board for her. And wow, the minus on the vial. Oh yeah, that full value. Oh, love it. That's sick. All right, yeah. I mean, it's Murloc's game now. All of these, like the turn 3 Teferi, to the surprise of basically nobody, was enough to put him so far ahead that things looking very, very good for him. I don't think there's any way that Cat is going to be able to come back from this. Nahiri is going to be even basically, yeah, exactly. Like it's guaranteed that all the cards that Murloc draws are going to be gas, because not only is going to be drawing 2 from the Teferi every turn, but also the Nahiri is going to be looting away the ones that, I guess it's rummaging away the ones that are not good enough for him.
I think it's interesting to note that Murloc has an engineered explosives in his sideboard that he's not bringing in. That's really surprising to me, because I would think that that's a powerful card in this matchup, though he may just think there's too much of a diversity of mana costs. And
I think the main reason for that is because of Karn. He can always minus to go get it with Karn.
Yeah, you want to leave yourself those Karn targets, I suppose.
Exactly. I think that most of the time that you're going to minus Karn, you're probably going to minus for Ensnare Bridge anyway.
Yeah.
In this matchup, so maybe it is correct to bring the explosives in just because of that. But Murloc knows what his spicy numbers are, so I'm pretty sure that.
this Chandra could potentially be quite powerful in this matchup.
He kept this hand. I love it.
I mean, I don't think you can pass a hand with mana creatures. Honestly, I think this deck is a deck with 1,000,000 4 and 5 drops. If you don't have a mana creature, you can't keep the hand. So I think it's kind of hard to pass up any hand with a mana creature. And I think he's quickly rewarded with this Oath of Nissa, which is likely to grab him either a 4-drop or possibly another land. But
yeah, even another mana creature would be insane right now.
I think there's a lot of options and just making all his planeswalkers easy to cast. It's though we're seeing a fast start from the other side as well. Cat starting with Maelstrom Wanderer into Unsettled Mariner, so getting pressure on while also making it difficult.
The double in season there going to the bottom of the deck. That's some bad beats right there. So we're not going to have any kind of turn 4 madness, but turn 3 madness. Sorry, but Murloc's turn 4 might be pretty good. I mean, he still has one more draw step towards a 4-drop, right?
And even if he misses the 4-drop, then what he's doing is he's leaving 4 mana open in an open deck list where she knows he has Settle the Wreckage. So there's possibility that
but Mariner has something to say about that.
Does Mariner do players?
Exactly. So he can't. The Cat knows that with the Mariner in play, she does not need to play around Settle if Murloc only has 4 mana. Still, you saw what happened there, right? Like, Cat cycled the Horizon Canopy as the first order of business on her turn. So
now did Cat have some mulligans? Because it looks like, if I'm reading...
Oh, Cat mull to 4. I totally missed that. Oh yeah, that's a very big deal. And that explains the cycling. All right, Murloc, you gotta bring it home. Bring it home. Oof.
Yeah.
These are some solid pickups. So we got Ishkana. Wow, that's some spice.
It doesn't look like it's going to be active right now, however.
No Delirium. Teferi has the same issue with the stupid Mariner. Is kind of doing a fair amount of work here.
Yeah,
so I guess
Teferi on the vial. You could Teferi on the vial, which is what he's.
No.
Oh,
it's permanence. Your permanence neutral. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He sees it.
I should really read Unsettled Mariner at some point.
Yeah. So basically, permanence. Any ability that targets permanence you control or you basically need to pay the 1 mana tax. Yeah. So I was expecting him to like plus on the Teferi, so it goes up to 5 loyalty, and he still has a play, and he probably untaps. Teferi goes down to 1 maybe, unless Cat has a Lord, and then. But yeah, now this is a fairly clean kill the Teferi and then 2 at you.
Yeah.
The good thing is that now the big ones are starting to come out to play.
Yeah, I think once Gideon resolves, that takes a huge amount of pressure off NobleMurloc, and then once the Chandra resolves and cleans everything up, it's hard to see Cat coming back from that.
Exactly. So I would expect him to take care of his life total. So the Oath of Nissa is fixing the mana for him. So no need to shock for a red source.
Yeah.
He goes for the Wrath. Okay, and he can play this one through the Mausoleum Wanderer tax. Okay. He does pay. That's an interesting play, because I guess that maybe he wanted to resolve that while Cat is not representing Spellqueller because it's a 4-drop, and then he can safely play the Gideon into Spellqueller mana because Gideon doesn't care about Spell Queller?
I suppose. Yeah, it's definitely a surprising play, though I don't think he's left himself in a bad position.
No, Gideon is probably going to clean things up from here. It has so much loyalty.
Yeah. And we're getting to see some of these, extremely powerful. We're at a point in the game where the card quality in NobleMurloc's deck is through the roof. I mean, what other modern deck is playing a bunch of 5 and 6 drops, at any point in the game, really, that has this many high mana, high impact cards?
Yeah, for real. Chandra is going to come down, and it's going to be pretty good. She's definitely going to reign supreme in this empty battlefield. I guess I'm tiny now. Hey guys. Oh, there's the name of the deck. I guess that's what Double Rainbow Seasons. That's the name of the deck that we're showing off over there. Nice. Oh, cool.
So
now I'm large again. Cool. All right. Yeah. So Cat. Oof. Settle the wreckage. The combo that you talked about a little bit earlier. Wow. Cat's draw just has not come together at all.
Yeah.
She cycled 3 Canopy lands. To be fair, if those were not Canopy lands, she would be in a significantly worse spot. So
Yeah.
just throwing that out there. But Murloc is very very smartly just plussing the Gideon, no messing around with attacking. He knows that it just doesn't matter. That's not what the game is going to be about. He needs to use his walkers to get ahead and keep their loyalty as high as possible. Now the Queller is forced to attack the Gideon, so the Gideon, they can safely just minus on the Queller. Okay. Cat's got some fight in her still.
I think plussing the Gideon rather than attacking is an extremely heads-up play. I think there's a lot of times less experienced players will overvalue their opponent's life total, and Murloc is recognizing here that his deck is not a deck that is looking to beat down. It's a deck that is looking to accrue advantage and slowly over time put himself in the winning position. And I think if he hits another land here, I think he's going to be fairly decisively in a winning position.
Yeah, and he knows it too. And there it is. Yeah, this is huge. So he's gonna play the land. Gideon keeps him safe, so he knows that the Cat has no reach whatsoever. So Gideon keeps his life total safe, and the Chandra is going to come down and is going to obliterate this board and stay alive. Stay alive because she can, the Gideon is actually covering her as well. So this one is looking very, very firmly in control for Murloc, for sure.
Yeah. A very, very impressive showing from this doubling season deck that, I didn't know what to expect when I saw it, honestly. It's got a lot of cards that you don't normally see in Modern, and that's kind of the exciting thing about the format of Modern is, the ability to innovate, the ability to try new things, and there's just so many high-impact, powerful cards that exist in Modern that there's a lot of, fun new things for people to try and innovate all the time.
Exactly. I play a lot of Modern. If anybody watches my stream, they know that I play a lot of Modern, and Murloc has gotten me. I actually had to go ahead and read what some of the cards that he registered actually did. So good job.
Quite a few. Yeah.
Yeah. Good job, Murloc. His deck is crazy sweet, and it did work. It did work. It got the match, and right now we are 16-14, actually winning the week.
And obviously, you know, excellent play by Cat there. Absolute spirits master. You know, unfortunately, just having a really bad mulligan that last game did seem to hurt her a lot. But you know, not to say anything to disparage her play throughout the games, which I think, you know, obviously she's a very strong spirits player as well.
Indeed.
So what
but
do you
yeah,
guys
go
think?
Team Ice.
Actually, I need to update something else here. It's not just 16 to
I never
14.
doubted us.
Says the guy who
Team
started
Ice,
with the fire.
100%, all the time, forever.
We now season 1, Team Ice won 26 to 24. We tied on weeks 2 and 2 with one whole tied week. Season 2 right now, we opened off with a tied week. Team Fire won last week, and this is the third week, which Team Ice just took down 6 to 4. So Team Fire is up 16 to 14 in the season, but we are now tied in weeks. Weeks are what matters unless we tie on weeks, and then the tiebreakers end up mattering. Because Team Ice won season 1, total matches won will matter if Team Fire wins season 2. Ugh, that was a lot of words. Check out
It's close.
www.ModernStreamersLeague.
In short, it's close.
It's close. ModernStreamersLeague.com. We have all the rules of how it's set up. Basically, Team Fire needs to win. Keep winning to win out. Team Ice just needs to keep it real close because we have a slight advantage from winning season 1 26 to 24.
From Saint Doom carrying us.
Saint Doom, the man of the people, the man of the people.
8-0.
But I'm looking ahead, and I have Garrett Martin on Burn next week, and that deck looks like it was built to beat me. First of all, my list it's a Mardu list with 0 collective brutalities in it.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I 4-1'd both leagues in testing I did with it. I didn't face Burn once, and I said, you know what? I think I'm fine here. I'm just going to lose the Burn if I play against it. That's what I said. And then he's running a Smash to Smithereens main board. And I'm like,
I was so afraid when I saw that. I'm like, is this correct? Like, do you actually have a Smash in the main board? He's like, yeah, somebody suggested it to me. I'm like, all right. I mean, I guess I'm going to hope that my amulets don't get smashed.
So my only hope was to beat him game 1 with like a Batter Skull, but Smash to Smithereens main board makes that even harder to do. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm probably falling. I'm anticipating I'm going to fall to 8-1 next week, and then with a match against Dito to close out the league. He's on, of course, Grixis Death Shadow. So should be fun. Mardu against Grixis Death Shadow. I feel like that's pretty even 50-50 right there. Basically, he needs Temur Battle Rage over my Lingering Souls tokens. I have some nice support from KoDiamonds. Hashtag Saint Doom sucks. Says the guy who just lost again on stream. Come on, man. We've been carrying you. We've been carrying you so hard. You can see your record right above on the ticker. It's not good, man. Get better, then talk some trash.
Nice. I'm all about I'm all about the trash talk.
Yeah, everybody with bad records sucks. You know? Just like 2 and 6. What are you even doing? Go home.
What are you doing?
Well, I'm 3 and 5, so I'm not. I don't think I'm one to talk.
So this just kind of goes to show how Magic the Gathering is such a wide open game. I think Modern in particular too. And when you put a bunch of really good players in a room together, what's going to end up happening is the person who gets the luckiest is going to be 8-0.
Yes, we got that right. We got that right.
Yes.
The best don't rise to the top.
Yes. So when you punt, just keep playing on, right? Because I punted so hard week 1, and I still pulled that off somehow because I got saved. I got saved by my opponent making a subsequent punt the following time. And as long as your opponent punts right after you, your punts are forgiven.
There we go. I think we sold Modern, guys.
Spider Space asks, he's 50-50, so he's mediocre. I don't know. You started what 4-0 and now are you 4-4? So I feel like you're split right there. Like it's really. I think you just got to get back to Thalia Stompy there.
Fairies did not get there.
Yeah. I hope everyone knows that I'm jesting. Obviously, everybody involved in the Modern Streamers League are phenomenal players. Somebody has to lose, somebody has to win, and there's such slim margins every single week in a lot of these matchups. A top deck here, a little thing here, a little key block there. Like there's such tiny little details. A mulligan to 4 here that if we played 100 times, I'm sure it would balance out, and everyone would be sitting around right around 500. But we're only playing 10 times, so we're going to get.
So we're 50-50.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. We all suck. We're all average. I don't know why you guys are watching this.
I don't even know if I qualify as a modern streamer. I don't know. I remember the last time I actually streamed.
Hashtag real life sucks, I guess, huh?
Life is hard.
Yeah, getting a PhD is hard.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hot takes.
Smartest guy on stream right now.
Hot takes.
All right, that was fun though. Thanks for having me on to commentator and stuff. That was really fun.
So
this was great.
Real quick again, we're sponsored by Card Hoarder and Card Kingdom. Check them out. We're playing for 2 charities. Check them out right below, A21 and the Cancer Research Institute. I want to thank Nicholas Bruno and Francisco Pawlusz.
Pawlusz is fine.
Pawlusz.
Whatever. The best that you can do is more than fine.
Man, I'm gonna get it one of these days. This is like the 3rd time you've been on, and I've butchered it every single time. It doesn't even look that hard. It looks like I should be able to pronounce it well.
Dude, if you want me to tell you a funny story, I spent 27 years of my life pronouncing my last name wrong, and 3 years ago, 2.5 now, I actually talked to Canister on stream, and I said, "Yo, you're Polish, right? Like, can you tell me how to pronounce my last name?" And he pronounced it Pawluszek, and I'm like, "Oh, cool. Now I know how my last name is actually supposed to be pronounced."
Gotcha.
This is not a joke. Like, this actually happened. So Magic streams not only great for Magic content, but also to learn how to pronounce your own name.
It's educational.
Yes.
Educational on all fronts.
Educational, informative, all those big words. That's what you have, and you had it here first at the Modern Streamers League. Check out our website, www.modernstreamersleague.com. We are at League Modern. On our website, you have little bios of every single player. You can click their links to get their Twitter, their YouTube, their Twitch accounts. Check them all out. Follow them all. Sub them all if you have enough money. Why not, right? I'm sure we will all appreciate that.
It's September.
It is
half
September.
of subs.
Absolutely. So check
half
them all
of
out.
all subs.
This is a show about the content creators of Magic the Gathering, particularly for the modern format. So if you like these people's content, if you like these players' content, show them some love, send them some messages, give them some appreciation. But you can reach all of them on the mothership, ModernStreamersLeague.com. So that's pretty much it for our show. I hope you guys had a good time. Right now, we are so tied right now, 1-1, 16-14 in Season 2, with a slight edge from Ice from winning Season 1. This can't really be this close, can it, guys?
Ice.
I think my takeaway from the night is from NobleMurloc is to learn to punt then carry on.
Punt then carry on.
Hashtag punt then carry on. That should be our new little hashtag thing.
I like it.
There we go.
Hashtag punt then carry on. I typed that in the chat. I didn't expect it to carry on, but here we go.
It did. It did, I guess.
I like it. So thank you, everyone, for watching the stream. Been a lot of fun. Check us out on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sean Seacrease will be back in the host chair, and I'll be sliding over to a much, much smaller chair. So I'll see you guys all then. Have an awesome weekend.